Few of these in the world were sort of shared between places in the southern hemisphere like Australia and places in the northern hemisphere like the US and Canada. But now we're starting to see, for example, fires in LA in January, which is the southern hemisphere summer, while Australia is also putting out bushfires in their summer, and there aren't enough planes now to share between them. And so we're getting a realization that we need to adapt these systems so that we have the capabilities to deal with these out-of-season, unpredictable, huge disasters.
Many of the areas that we've been discussing need global cooperation and commitment to be effective. What are the chances of that happening?
It can seem that we're in an impossible situation at the moment, but I would say that we are so closely interdependent and tied, whether it's through trade, whether it's through the fact that we are, one species on a planet that is becoming less and less livable. And so we will have to cooperate, whether it seems unlikely or not. We just need, really, the beginning is honesty from leadership about the situation that we're actually in. And that would be a great first step.
So back to our main question. Is the world ready for more climate migration? Unsurprisingly, it's a no, given progress with its two main elements. A unified international response to the effects of global warming is lacking, and the issue of migration continues to fuel societal divisions. Preparing for predicted growth in internal and cross-border climate displacement requires a bold universal rethink and a fresh response from nations that have contributed most to the serious threat that's upending lives around the world. This edition of The Inquiry was written and presented by me, Charmaine Cozier. The producer was Matt Tolson, researcher Maeve Schaffer, editor Tom Bigwood, and technical producer Craig Boardman.
That was The Inquiry from the BBC. I'm Saroja Coelho here on...
Good morning, Manitoba, and hello, Winnipeg. I'm Marcy Marcusa. This is Information Radio, and we're live from our Studio 15 in downtown Winnipeg. Thanks for joining us. It is Wednesday morning. It's the day after the speech from the throne. That means in our province yesterday, we heard a whole bunch of things that are, promised for the days ahead and the months ahead. We'll ask the Premier about them today on Information Radio. He will be here for our monthly interview, and we have much to talk about. We'll hear about that in the news in a moment as well. But let's say good morning to the team and get the day started, shall we? Mr. Darren Marash. I always introduce you later, so I thought I'd start with you. Darren is our YouTube producer if you're watching the stream there. Morning, Darren. Good morning to Chloe Friesen, who's sitting in for Abby this morning behind the controls. Chloe will be on the air with us covering the forecast. And Corey Funk is here also. Corey is our studio show director and covers your commute. Speaking of the weather, mainly cloudy, 30% chance of afternoon showers in Winnipeg. The high today is 5 degrees. And we'll check up on those current conditions in just a moment. First, though, let's go to Heather Wells at 6:02 for a rundown of the headlines. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, a Winnipeg man who lost his son to an overdose welcomes the province's plan to open a supervised consumption site. Chuck Neufeld says he supports having a place to test drugs and make sure people get help. Manitoba's throne speech yesterday says the supervised consumption site will start operations in January, although the location has not been announced. And the mayor of Carberry is relieved a highway overpass will be built near his town. The intersection of the Trans-Canada and Highway 5 is where 17 people died in 2023 after a bus and semi collided. The province announcing yesterday it will move ahead with a planned overpass. And the mayor of Carberry says you can't put a price on safety. So we'll hear more from him in our next local news coming up at 6:30.
All right. Thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
So, of course, some more analysis of all these promises. If you were watching the speech from the throne, if you want to weigh in on anything, you can call us 788-3205. And again, we'll have the Premier on live here. That's after 8. Earlier in the show, though, we're going to look at the latest participation report that's out. Probably no surprise. We all need to move more. But why aren't we? After all of these decades of the same messages, we know it's good for our health. So we're going to check in on the new report. Also, we will touch base with Harvest Manitoba this morning and hear about their weekend snack program expanding across our province. World Reports, though, first.
Elizabeth McGovern stars in a new stage production about the life of the 1950s Hollywood icon Ava Gardner. Elizabeth will talk about why she was drawn to Ava's story, what Ava's story can tell us about celebrity culture now, and the 15 years Elizabeth spent on the hit show Downton Abbey.
Is it true that Irish gardens have more variety than ours?
Q with Tom Power this morning at 10:30 in Newfoundland, and on CBC Listen or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is World Report. Good morning. I'm Marcia Young. U.S. President Donald Trump is expected to sign a bill to release the Jeffrey Epstein files as early as today. The House of Representatives voted in favor of the document dump, and now, once again, it is all down to the U.S. president. But the survivors may still have to wait for the information to be made public. The CBC's Willie Lowry joins me now from Washington. Willie, these survivors say this was a long time coming. What is next?
Potentially more government red tape. But if the previous few months showed just how dysfunctional and slow the U.S. government can be, last night revealed how effective and fast it can function when it wants to. After an overwhelming vote in favor of compelling the Justice Department to release its files on Jeffrey Epstein in the House, the Senate agreed to a motion deeming the bill passed on arrival.
Is there an objection? Without objection, so ordered.
The Senate has now passed the Epstein bill as soon as it comes over from the House.
That was Minority Leader Chuck Schumer. The Senate should receive the bill sometime this morning, meaning it should get to President Donald Trump's desk today. If he signs it, the Justice Department will have 30 days to release the documents.
There are still concerns that some of these files may never see the light of day. What can you tell us?
That's right. There is a caveat to all of this. The bill allows for the Justice Department to withhold information that pertains to ongoing investigations. President Trump has ordered Attorney General Pam Bondi to open investigations into Epstein's connections with several top Democrats, including former President Bill Clinton, former Treasury Secretary Larry Summers, and Reid Hoffman, the founder of LinkedIn. That move could give the Justice Department cause for not disclosing some of the documents. Here's Democrat Representative Robert Garcia.
Right now, he's putting this investigation together, and we're very concerned that he's going to use it as an excuse to not release the full files.
And several Epstein victims are also pleading with the president to release the documents in full.
Thank you, Willie.
My pleasure.
The CBC's Willie Lowry in Washington. Atna Onaha is alleged to have ties to organized crime in Montreal. He faces related charges to murder as well as cocaine trafficking. And now Onaha could be extradited to the United States. Sources tell Radio-Canada his case is linked to Ryan Wedding, the former Canadian Olympian, now on the FBI's 10 most wanted list. Sarah Levitt has more.
Walking out of a Montreal courtroom, prosecutors had nothing to say. And inside, the documents were sealed, giving away few details. What we do know is that appearing via video conference was Atna Onaha, a man allegedly tied to Montreal organized crime. According to Radio-Canada sources, the 40-year-old was arrested early Tuesday by the RCMP at the request of the FBI. He faces charges, the exact ones unknown, but prosecutors said in court it was related to cocaine trafficking and murder. And the U.S. has requested Onaha, also known as Tupac, be extradited. This all in connection, according to Radio-Canada, with the case of Ryan Wedding, a former Canadian Olympian who is now on the FBI's top 10 most wanted. The FBI calling him an alleged drug kingpin and offering $10 million in reward for information that leads to his arrest. It's believed Wedding is in Mexico, but could possibly be in Canada. Today in Washington, a news conference with big names has been called, and Radio-Canada sources say it's related to Onaha's arrest. U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi and FBI Director Kash Patel are among those expected to be in attendance. Sarah Levitt, CBC News, Montreal.
Prime Minister Mark Carney is on his way to Abu Dhabi this morning. He will be the first Canadian Prime Minister to visit the United Arab Emirates since 1983. Carney is trying to drum up investment from sovereign wealth funds to help diversify Canada's economy. and he is expected to meet with senior government and business leaders. Nunavut has a new premier. John Mayne has been elected as the 7th premier in the territory's history. As TJ Deere reports, Mayne is also making history as Nunavut's first ever non-Inuk leader.
Congratulations, Mr. Mayne.
It's a new era for Nunavut. The 7th premier of the territory will be John Mayne. He was chosen by his fellow MLAs in Nunavut's consensus system. In a short, emotional speech entirely in Inuktitut, Mayne thanked his fellow MLAs who voted for him and said he would work very hard. The first Kalunat, or non-Inuk, to serve as premier, Mayne has been an MLA in the Nunavut legislature since 2017. He will now serve at the head of the territory's 7th government, and it's one that faces a lot of issues. A lack of housing, a suicide crisis, a high cost of living, just to name a few. Speaking with reporters afterwards, he touched on exactly that when asked what his priorities would be in the big seat.
There's no shortage of issues that need addressing. In terms of which ones are going to be at the top of the list, that's a group exercise that we will be going through.
Among Inuit leaders watching the forum was Paul Ingout. He's the vice president of Nunavut Tungavik Incorporated, the organization that manages the Inuit beneficiary list and the Nunavut land claim. Ingout says Mayne knows those issues well, having grown up in Avviet.
Inuit have been left behind for so long that we want our priorities taken into full account with this government, especially with this premier, and we will push him on that front.
Also chosen on Tuesday were the 8 members of Mayne's cabinet, as well as the Speaker of the House. They'll be sworn in on Thursday after a short sitting to confirm their positions. TJ Deere, CBC News, Iqaluit.
It has been a deadly and destructive night in Ukraine. Russian drones struck apartment buildings in Kharkiv. Ukrainian security services estimate there were more than 470 drones launched across the country. The drones hit an energy facility, an industrial site in Lviv, and in the western city of Ternopil, a multi-story residential building was destroyed. Bulldozers and fire crews are now clearing the debris. Officials say 20 people, including 2 children, were killed in that attack. Lebanese officials say at least 13 people are dead after an Israeli airstrike in the country's south. Rescue workers rush into a Palestinian camp in Lebanon's coastal city of Sidon. The attack happened late yesterday. Israel's military says it targeted members of Hamas operating in a training compound. Hamas condemns the attack and denies that it was a training camp. Israel has continued to carry out strikes in Lebanon since the October 7th Hamas attack. Its main target has been the Iran-backed group Hezbollah, but it has also targeted Hamas leadership and fighters within Lebanon's borders. Canada's public alerting system is scheduled to be tested across the country today. A test message and tone from Alert Ready will be broadcast on television, radio, and compatible wireless devices. Test alerts will be issued in every province and territory to help ensure the system works. It will happen sometime between late morning and early afternoon. For the first time since his family's killer was sentenced, an Ottawa man is speaking out. He is the sole survivor of the March 2024 homicide in his home. 6 people in his family were killed, including his wife and their 4 children. The CBC's David Fraser has his story.
Inside an Ottawa temple, incense burning, monks chanting, Danishka Wickramasinghe bowing his head in prayer. His Buddhist faith, the reason, he says he's standing after losing his wife and 4 children in one of the city's deadliest homicides. Fabio de Souza pleaded guilty earlier this month to killing the family and another friend in March of 2024. He also attacked Wickramasinghe, stabbing him 6 times. He was sentenced to life without parole for 25 years.
I always wanted to justice and finally I got the justice.
Wickramasinghe had welcomed de Souza, a young man from Sri Lanka, to live in his suburban Ottawa home, supporting someone he shared a faith and home country with.
Came back me and destroyed my everything, my family, my life, my whole world.
Immigration struggles are adding to the trauma. Wikram Singha's brother rushed to Canada after the killings, but he can't bring his own wife and daughter here. The family's immigration lawyer, Ronnalee Carey, says it could take a decade for the family to be united in Canada unless the federal government steps in.
So much was taken away from them. The very least that we can do as Canadians is allow them to stay and build a life here.
Wikram Singha hoping to continue building his life in Ottawa.
I love Canada.
David Fraser, CBC News, Ottawa.
That is World Report. I'm Marcia Young.
Well, maybe get the umbrellas ready. We do have a slight chance we're going to see some showers here in Winnipeg today. Thanks for joining us to start your morning. I'm Marcy Marcusa with our team in Information Radio, live in downtown Winnipeg. Forecast in a moment as usual. This hour on the show, we're going to hear from Harvest Manitoba about their weekend snack program. They're expanding it all across the province. We'll hear more about the needs. In addition, you know you're supposed to move. But do you move enough? Most of us still don't. Participation has been around in Canada for decades. Today, the message is the same. More people need to exercise. We're going to dig into their very latest report. And then also this hour on the show, the throne speech yesterday here in Manitoba. We're about to hear some analysis on the news. But one of the promises yesterday was an overpass that will soon be built at the site of the deadliest bus crash in Manitoba. We're going to get reaction from some of the people who are in the Brandon area about this overpass promised around Carberry. What's interesting about that, let's remember, is just months ago, the province's traffic engineers and specialists recommended a different plan, an R-cut, which was, traffic management measure that they would use there. However, that's not what ended up being approved after much outcry. So it will be an overpass. Let's go to Heather Wells now for more on the throne speech and other stories in the news developing with her headlines. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, the province's plan to end mandated overtime for nurses in hospital emergency rooms is being met with skepticism. Sonia Udod at the College of Nursing at the University of Manitoba wonders who will care for patients if nurses aren't required to stay to fill vacant shifts. Udod says the main problem is retention. We're going to hear more coming up. And after 8 months of protests, Thunderbird House is getting repairs. The copper on the roof of the Indigenous gathering place is coming off. Repairs are needed inside as well. That building fell into disrepair after the COVID-19 pandemic. I'll be back with more Manitoba news coming up at 6:30.
All right. Thank you, Heather Wells.
Thank you.
Well, Chloe Friesen is here this morning. Chloe, you do just about every job at CBC, I think.
I try my best.
Someone saw you this morning and then they saw me come out after brushing my hair in the bathroom, full disclosure, which is my change room.
Right.
Anyway, and I came out and Kai, the producer of Radio-Canada, the radio morning show en français, said, oh, Marcy is here and Chloe's here. I'm like, yes, Chloe does everything. If you see Chloe, she could be directing or teching the show. She might be hosting a show.
What's the phrase, like master of none, but you do a lot of things? There's a phrase there.
Lies. You're mastering everything. Today you are in the role of Abby, which means you have the weather.
Yeah, I do. Right now here in the city of Winnipeg, 3 degrees today, looking at mainly cloudy skies. As you heard Marcy say, 30% chance of showers this afternoon with a high of +5. In Brandon right now, mainly cloudy, fog patches dissipating near noon, also looking at a high of +3. And then to Thompson, today looking at cloudy skies with a 30% chance of light snow in Thompson. Fog patches dissipating this morning. Wind up to 15 kilometers an hour and a high of -3. But the wind chill today will have things feeling more like -7.
All right. Thanks, Chloe.
No problem.
It's time for the morning commute with Mr. Corey Fung.
Yes, and very quiet commute so far. Haven't heard of anything. There was actually on my way in a little bit of a light dusting of a little ice actually on the road.
I saw that too today.
Yeah, and so if you have to brake, might take you a little more time than normal. So heads up, there might be a little bit slippery. Other than that, though, if you're walking your bike and you're driving, you see something going on, you can give me a call on the CBC commuter line. That number 204-788-3093.
Well, as I've been mentioning on the air here this week, 2 weeks from Friday, we are going to have our day to make the season kind in support of Harvest Manitoba. And when it comes to how Harvest supports schools, this next story might be enlightening to you, because I think a lot of us hear about the Universal School Program and think that all those meals are covered by the province or the feds. And while the meals might be, it doesn't mean that snacks and food that kids might need throughout weekends are covered. So Harvest Manitoba is right now expanding their weekend snack program. It means that 21 schools in Winnipeg, Brandon, Thompson, and Opaskwayak Cree Nation will get healthy snacks to have at home. Vince Barletta is Executive Director at Harvest Manitoba. He spoke on Radio Noon about this with Marjorie Dalhouse.
Well, yesterday we announced the expansion of our Meals to Go program to now be serving 20 schools across Manitoba, including an expansion into Thompson, Manitoba, starting in the new year. This program has been operating, Marjorie, since 2018. It started in Mulvey School right here in Winnipeg, serving 350 kids. And with this year's expansion, we'll now be providing weekend school nutrition kits to 7,000 students across Manitoba each and every week.
So you talked there about how the program has expanded. How did you know which schools or which communities this program would be expanded to?
So we work closely with school divisions across the province, here in the city of Winnipeg as well, to identify those schools that are going to have the highest level of need and benefit the most from a weekend school nutrition program, which is a complement to in-school nutrition, lunch and breakfast programs, which already exist in many schools across the city and around the province.
Now, Vince, you said that this program has been running since 2018. What kind of impact has this program had on students?
Well, it's been huge, Marjorie. And, when this program began with Mulvey back in 2018, the challenge was that even schools that have in-school nutrition programs, breakfast and lunch during the school week, found that kids were coming back to school on Monday, not getting the nutrition they need at home and not necessarily ready to learn. So Meals to Go fills that gap. We pack those bags full of nutritious food items for kids in the K-8 system. We do that at Harvest. We deliver those out to schools, and each one of the kids at those schools gets those bags to take home for the weekend. So it's huge. It's huge for kids getting the nutrition. It's also great for parents, taking some of the pressure off busy lifestyles and making sure that as busy as your life may be, for those 7,000 students, there's going to be healthy snacks to eat over the weekend.
Vince, I know this program keeps growing more and more every year. Has Harvest Manitoba identified if there's going to be other areas that could be part of this program as well?
Well, each year we work with our donors. We work with Manitoba Education and Early Childhood Learning. We work with school divisions to identify those schools that are going to benefit further from it. So this year we're moving from 5,000 to 7,000 students in the years ahead. If we can continue to meet new needs and grow to new schools, new communities and students, we will do that where the need is there. But we want to make sure that we continue as well to preserve the quality of our program, make sure that we can continue to fill those kits with nutritious food that kids also want to eat, and make sure they make the best use of the program.
That's right, because kids can be picky eaters, can't they?
Well, I think we can all be picky eaters sometimes, Marjorie, and I know that there's certainly always that balance between what's nutritious and what are kids going to eat. But we're filling those bags with fresh fruit, milk, yogurt, cheese, cereal, veggies, healthy things in snack portions that kids can prepare themselves, even if mom and dad aren't home, and make sure that they're able to get some good nutrition on Saturday and Sunday.
Vince, what kind of support does Harvest need right now?
Well, Harvest runs on three things. We need funds to run our trucks, pay our staff, our building. We also take donations of food throughout the year, and you can go on our website, harvestmanitoba.ca, to find out more information about the kinds of food we take donations of. And of course, you can volunteer your time, and we have individuals, groups, families, companies that come and volunteer with us over the holidays and all throughout the year. So your food, your funds, your time, we can make use of all three to feed hungry Manitobans.
Vince Barletta, Executive Director of Harvest Manitoba, talking to our Radio Noon host Marjorie Dalhouse there about their expansion of their weekend snack program. Now, what's interesting is when they started that at Mulvey School here in Winnipeg, CBC was there to cover it. I was there to visit. One of the loveliest things is they were putting the packages together for kids, and they were including notes. to say, you're great, or you're the best, or, whatever. And the kids were writing notes to the kids that were getting the snacks. And I just thought that was one of the best things ever as they were opening the bags. We'll talk more about the need, as I mentioned, 2 weeks from Friday, when CBC comes together to make the season kind.
A teenage athlete scores a free solution to his size 23 problem. A sailor adrift at sea survives on ketchup and nets a boat. And a British Columbia couple labor to win a hotel prize. The allure of marketing freebies on Under the Influence with Terry O'Reilly. Thursday morning at 11:30, 3:30 p.m. in Newfoundland. And on the CBC Listen app.
Time right now is 6:20. As I mentioned, Chloe Friesen is in for Abby Adiyemi, and you've picked some music to roll here for us next. Why'd you pick this one?
I've been listening to this album a lot. It's by Olivia Dean. She's from England, and
Cool.
I haven't had like a happy album to listen to in a long time. It's just light. It's a bit jazzy, some pop soul to it, and she's got a voice that just sounds like she could have come from any era. It's just so timeless.
Oh, I love that.
So it's Olivia Dean, and the song is called Man I Need.
You're listening to CBC 89.3 FM. Let's check it out.
Talk to me, talk to me. Talk to me, talk to me. Looks like we're making up for lost time. Need you to spell it out for me. Bossa Nova on all night. It's like a type of alchemy. Introduce me to your best friend. I can come and slide right in. A satellite ain't even that far. I kinda wonder where you are. Already know I can leave it alone. You're on my mind. Already gave you the time and the place, so don't be shy. Just come be the man I need. Tell me you got something to give. I want it. I kinda like it when you call me wonderful. Whatever the type of talk it is, come on then. I gotta know you're meant to be the man I need. Talk to me, talk to me, talk to me, talk to me. Be the man that I need, baby. Talk to me, be the man that I need, need. Talk to me, be the man that I need, baby. Talk to me, be the man. I'd like to think you feel the same way, but I can't tell with you sometimes. So baby, let's get on the same page. Stop making me read between the lines. Already know I can leave it alone. You're on my mind. Already gave you the time and the place, so don't be shy. Just come be the man I need. Tell me you got something to give. I want it. I kinda like it when you call me wonderful. Whatever the type of talk it is, come on then. I gotta know you're meant to be the man I need. Talk to me, 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 talk to me. Be the man that I need, baby. Talk to me, be the man that I need, need. Talk to me, be the man that I need, baby. Talk to me, be the man, 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 man.
Wow, Chloe was right about that one. Timeless voice, lots of layers in that tune. That is Olivia Dean. If you want to check it out, it's called Man I Need. Thanks for joining us this morning on CBC 89.3 FM, 990 AM on that app and YouTube. Hopefully your morning's starting well. And maybe it's starting with exercise. A lot of people start their day working out, but a lot of us don't. A new report card on the physical well-being of adults in Canada is now out, and it does show that a lot of people are falling short in Canada of today's recommended guidelines. Not only that, but we're doing worse year over year. And we've been talking about the needs for exercise and the levels, what we should be getting daily for decades. The report's called Moving Beyond Stagnation, Elevating Physical Activity in Canada, in Participaction's latest survey. So let's talk about it with Lee Vanderloo, Scientific Director of Participation and part of the Report Card Research Committee. Lee and I talk every year about this report card. It looks bad this year, Lee.
Yeah, so as you noted, the large majority of adults in Canada are not getting the recommended minutes of moderate to vigorous physical activity per week. But if we were to look for a little bit of a good news story, one important point that I'd like to make is that this is the first statistic we have at a national level since during the pandemic. So the last time this national surveillance was undertaken was in 2021, and we saw that the number was about 49% of adults meeting this guidelines. And so, yes, it is a bit of a slight decrease, but I think overall, considering what happened throughout the pandemic and where we've been rebounding post, I think a positive takeaway from this is that we've been able to do a fairly good job at maintaining those levels, but that's where that stagnation comes in. So we haven't necessarily done worse. We're not necessarily decreasing terribly, but we aren't seeing those upward shifts and trajectories. And that's a really important takeaway.
So do we understand why people are stagnant? Like, what is preventing adults, because the stats for adults, what's preventing adults from exercising more?
Yeah, so a couple of different things. One, if we peel back that number a little bit further, we start to see that, equity gaps certainly persist, suggesting that not all adults have the same opportunity to be active. So when we look at gender, for example, about 53% of men are more likely to meet the physical activity guidelines versus women, which is only at about 39%. But if you look even deeper, we start to see that a number of members from equity-denied groups are less likely to meet the physical activity recommendations, specifically individuals living with disabilities, new Canadians or newcomers, as well as Canadians with lower income. And so this suggests that there's some really key underlying social and economic barriers that we need to examine to ensure that there's the appropriate supports in place.
And so the answer to some of that could be what? Or the reasoning around that might be what? There's no place maybe in community to exercise. I mean, facilities could be problems, or people are marginalized, or there's some kind of messaging going on for people. Like, do people get stagnant as an individual issue, or can it also be societal or community geographical issues, as you're alluding to?
Absolutely. Those are such great points in that, it's not just an individual consideration. We need to be also thinking about what's happening at the social level, even higher at the policy and infrastructure. For the majority of time, especially since I've been in the field, we've considered physical activity or lack thereof to be a personal issue and a personal failing. But what we really need to do is to move beyond seeing physical activity as a personal choice and start treating it as a public health priority. This physical activity gap isn't just a matter of personal willpower, but it's really about recognizing and acting upon the many underused opportunities we have here in Canada. So coordinated leadership, consistent, uninterrupted funding can help turn awareness into action. And so, it's like you said, there's so many different areas and levels and points of intervention, but it's not going to be until we have that collective and coordinated action that we're going to start to see meaningful shifts at the population level.
I want to talk about social media fitness influencers, and not about the good that they can do, because that's pretty obvious. You might be motivated, see somebody, it might be at a local level or something you can actually access. But where can it actually hinder your message?
Yeah, so I think as you mentioned, it's both that kind of potential support and a hindrance. Support in that, there's that increased accessibility and relatability. But one of the biggest, I'd say caution on why we need to exercise when, going to social media is that there's just a lot of information out there, and it's really hard to navigate, what's credible information versus what's misinformation. Are the people relaying the messaging? What's their credibility? Are they certified? What is their, what is kind of their, credentials in terms of delivering that information. And so I think this presents both a challenge but also an opportunity for organizations like Participation. We absolutely need to meet Canadians where they are. We know that they're getting their information a lot of times through social or digital media, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, you know. The messaging is quick, it's easily digestible and easily accessible. So this is a great opportunity where we can, you know, also be a part of the conversation, ensuring that we're also on those channels, that we're supplying some of that credible information, those resources, making those connections, creating that sense of community online, and also helping to direct and empower individuals to help make the healthy choice the easy choice.
Lee, thanks for this.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm not sure if anyone wants to weigh in here, but it is a time of day where people are exercising. So what moves you? What gets you motivated? What is it that does it for you? I mean, I know for myself, it's always been team sports. Some people don't love that, right? They feel like pressure to show up for the team. For me, it's like that pressure gets me there, and then I find I'm having fun with my friends. So I've been involved in team sports to try to stay motivated in my life. But what is it that moves you and motivates you, especially if you have been maybe sedentary and this is a shift for you for better health? 788-3205. You can call in. Lee Vanderloo, the scientific director of Participation. Their new report can be found online at participation.com. It's just out today. Your CBC Winnipeg News is next.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. At 6:30, it is 3 degrees. And as we start so mild, we will continue mild through the day. A high of 5 today, mostly cloudy, very slight chance of afternoon showers. The Manitoba Nurses Union backs ending mandatory overtime for healthcare workers, but says the system still doesn't have enough nurses to make that happen. Yesterday's speech from the throne commits to beginning the process of ending mandatory OT, starting with nurses. Premier Rob Canoe argues the healthcare system has enough nurses to support a change in legislation. Earlier this year, the province announced it had hired 481 nurses in the previous 10 months. Union President Darlene Jackson says her members still aren't noticing a difference at work.
I would love nothing better than to see an end to mandating. But I don't think we're in a position now where we can legislate an end to mandating and still have a functioning healthcare system. I think there's other things that need to be dealt with, and one of them being culture. Once we have recruited enough nurses and we can retain them, then mandatory overtime for sure.
The province has also pledged to legislate staff-to-patient ratios in priority areas. Jackson worries what that might mean for departments that aren't prioritized. The mayor of Carberry says an overpass near his community will make the area safer for drivers. In yesterday's speech from the throne, the province commits to building an overpass at the intersection of the Trans-Canada and Highway 5. That is where 17 people, most of them seniors, died after a bus and semi collided in June 2023. Carberry Mayor Ray Muirhead.
If we get this because of that accident, it'll be in their memory, and good things come from it. A positive thing comes from it. I mean, it'll save a lot of lives down the road, I'm sure.
The province had originally planned to build a restricted crossing U-turn or an R-cut at that intersection, but after area opposition, the province scrapped the idea. Premier Rob Canoe says the overpass will cost more than $100 million. Design work will begin next year. A Winnipeg man who lost his son to an overdose welcomes the province's plan to open a supervised consumption site early next year. Chuck Neufeld says he supports having a place to test drugs and make sure people can get help.
People will be saying, hey, I can go there. I know I can get this tested. I know if there's something happens, someone's going to help me. Or if I need counseling, they can guide them towards the counseling, which is a huge, huge thing.
Manitoba's throne speech says the province's supervised consumption site will start operations in January, but the location has not yet been announced. Thunderbird House in Winnipeg's downtown is being revitalized. The copper-clad structure on Main Street was built 25 years ago as a place for Indigenous ceremonies and teachings, but the building fell into disrepair after the COVID-19 pandemic. Protesters have occupied the space since March, demanding repairs. Board Chair Colleen Rajat says those repairs are in the works.
We understand their concerns that the building has fallen into disrepair, and I can understand that they think that, this is, taking too long. But behind the scenes, there's been a lot of work going on, and we are moving forward in a good way.
Local architectural group Arrow has been selected to repair the roof. They hope to finish by March. Prime Minister Mark Carney's trying to drum up more trade for Canada. Today he lands in the United Arab Emirates, hoping to attract cash for Canadian projects, despite the concern of some human rights activists. The United Arab Emirates faces allegations it's financially supporting a paramilitary group committing atrocities in Sudan. It is a claim the UAE denies. You can hear more on this story as well as other national and international news coming up on World Report at 7. Wheelchairs weighing more than 300 pounds are barred from most WestJet flights. Former Manitoba MP Stephen Fletcher is speaking out against the policy after learning his power chair is too heavy, despite having flown with that airline for years. Mayan Ziv, founder of Access Now, thinks the rule is discriminatory.
Recently in Canada, we've created a lot of awareness about the barriers that passengers with disabilities face in air travel, and this doesn't demonstrate meaningful engagement with the community to solve the real problem.
Ziv is not aware of any other airlines with similar rules. WestJet says accessibility regulations allow it to refuse transport of heavier mobility aids. Well, the captain gets on the board.
The first of the year for the captain has the Jets in the lead.
Adam Lowry in the first period there on TSN as the Jets beat the Columbus Blue Jackets 5-2 last night. It was the Jets' first game at home after a long road trip. Assistant captain Mark Scheifele had 3 assists. And with last night's game, Scheifele now has played more games than anyone in Jets franchise history, 898. And that was a surprise to him.
I didn't know either. So obviously it's pretty cool. Been here for a long time, so I feel old some days, but obviously it's a tremendous honor.
In net last night, Eric Comrie with 20 saves. The Jets now get set to host a former Jet, Nikolai Ehlers, and the Carolina Hurricanes in town on Friday. You can find more Manitoba news updated throughout the day at cbc.ca/Manitoba.
Heather, I have to admit a point of desperation to you.
Oh, my.
Yesterday I was at a garden center and I was looking at wreaths and they were still putting them out.
Wow.
And I thought, okay, maybe I'm pushing this whole decorating early thing a bit. I wasn't the only one, though. There was a whole bunch of other people there learning how to make outdoor arrangements and such. And I was just taking the things I knew that would live because I don't want anything to die. But
yeah. I know that's the thing, right? If you put it out early, does it last?
Depends what it is. I mean, I bought some greens and you can leave them outside, certainly. But yeah, the wreath I held off on because I wasn't sure. Corey might have a story. We know Corey yesterday said that I should hold off. But.
Yeah, I the other day I was like, yeah, it's way too early. Don't put anything out, even if it's like woodland creatures.
I know you were like all you were poo-pooing my little owls.
And then I come home and then my wife's like, hey Corey, look what I got. She made this like nice little woodsy little outdoor display, and me knowing that I was on the record that morning
on the radio right
being
here.
Like, no, I don't think she heard that part, but I was like, yay, great. Thank you. I hope no one walks by and is like, that hypocrite.
Do you know, all over in the area where I live, there are Christmas decorations lighting up the night.
Yeah. It's somebody was remarking on the weekend, it's totally anecdotal, I know Manitoba, but people were saying they feel like maybe it's a bit earlier this year. I don't know. Maybe we're just in such a nice pocket of time before we get, the dumps of snow and the nasty winds that why not take the time to kind of safely put up the lights, all that kind of stuff.
So you can do it straight. Your hands aren't frozen and shaking as you're trying to decorate.
There's that too, the winter tremble. All right. Thank you, Heather.
You're welcome.
Heather's back before the top of the clock. Corey will hear from in a moment with the commute. But Chloe has been waiting patiently to tell us what the actual weather's going to be like today.
Yes. Today in Winnipeg, we are looking at mainly cloudy skies, 30% chance of showers this afternoon. So no snow, but we will see some precipitation, most likely, a high of +5. Tonight, mainly cloudy skies, 60% chance of rain showers or flurries this evening and after midnight. Wind up to 15 kilometers an hour, a low of -1. But that wind chill will have you feeling like -5. Tomorrow, sunny skies, wind up to 15 once again, a high of +2 with the wind chill at -5 in the morning. Heading to the Pembina Valley, Morden, Winkler, Altona. Today, mainly cloudy, 30% chance of showers this afternoon and a high of 7. Tonight, partly cloudy, 60% chance of rain showers or flurries this evening and a low of -1. In Brandon and surrounding areas today, mainly cloudy. Fog patches dissipating near noon, a high of +3. Tonight, mainly cloudy, 60% chance of showers early this evening. Wind becoming west 20 near midnight and a low of -6. Wind chill -12 overnight. Heading to Thompson today, looking at cloudy skies with a 30% chance of light snow, fog patches dissipating this morning. Wind up to 15, a high of -3, but the wind chill feels more like -7. Tonight, snow ending before morning, then cloudy. It could amount to 2 to 4 centimeters of snow. Wind up to 15, a low of -6. The wind chill, you'll feel like -5 this evening, and then -10 overnight for folks in Thompson. And then lastly here, Churchill. Today, looking at cloudy skies, becoming a mix of sun and cloud this morning. Wind northwest 20, becoming light this afternoon. Temperature falling to -10 in the afternoon. And the wind chill, it'll feel more like -16. Tonight in Churchill, partly cloudy, becoming cloudy near midnight. Then snow. Could see about 4 centimeters at max. Wind up to 15. Temperature rising to -7 by the morning. Wind chill -15 this evening. And then -10 overnight in Churchill. Once again, it's 3 degrees here in the city of Winnipeg.
All right, thank you, Chloe Friesen. Corey Funk, as you heard, is here just to tee up our commute. It could be a touch slick, I guess, if you're walking.
Yeah, a little
right?
bit. There's that light layer of ice, a little sheen on there this morning as I was biking over. So just heads up, might be a little bit slippery out there. But other than that, though, seems like a fairly smooth commute so far. But if you're walking, you're biking, you're driving, you see something going on, you can give me a call on the CBC commuter line. That number 204-788-3093.
All right, thanks, Corey.
Thank you.
Well, we're starting the business report today with some numbers. Crystal Ramlakan joins us via Zoom. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Marcy.
So these are Canada Post numbers. There's some stark figures here, new figures. They show the extent of Canada Post financial decline. What do they tell us? Can you share?
Yeah, that's right. So the chief financial officer says the corporation is effectively insolvent, with losses topping $1 billion in just the first 9 months of this year. And the latest figures come out of the Crown Corporation's annual meeting that was held yesterday. And this year, the company is tracking for its steepest annual loss yet. And the CEO says Canada Post's business model is deteriorating, with fewer letters being sent every year. There's also, of course, stiff competition for parcel delivery and disruptions from an ongoing labor dispute. Now, in January, the federal government opened up a loan of about $1 billion to Canada Post, and the company has already used about $955 million of it. And the CEO says leaning on the government for ongoing lifelines is not a workable strategy, and that changes to the mandate should help adjust operations to the modern realities of mail delivery. So those changes include adjusting the standard of how long it takes to deliver mail, closing some rural post offices, and expanding community mailbox service. So Canada Post submitted a plan to the federal government earlier this month to try to capitalize on those changes, but details will not be made public while the government reviews it. And the union, which represents about 55,000 workers, remains on a rotating strike as bargaining stretches past the 2-year mark.
Let's go to another story. Microsoft has some new deals, including one that affects the world of AI. What's it about?
Yeah, that's right. So the tech company has announced new partnerships with chip developer NVIDIA and artificial intelligence startup Anthropic. And it's just the latest sign that the company is working to reduce its dependence on OpenAI. So Microsoft will invest up to $5 billion into Anthropic, while NVIDIA will invest up to $10 billion into that startup. And the investments have pushed Anthropic's valuation to the range of $350 billion. Now, Microsoft has also invested billions of dollars into Anthropic's rival, OpenAI. And, OpenAI was founded as a nonprofit research lab back in 2015, but has become one of the fastest growing commercial entities on the planet following the launch, of course, the ever popular ChatGPT. And Anthropic was also founded by former OpenAI research executives, so kind of some overlapping minds behind these companies. And the Amazon-backed company is best known for developing a family of large language models called Claude. And, many investors are also going to be watching for NVIDIA's latest earnings, which will be announced after the market closes today.
And there's a new #1 podcast. What is it and who's been dethroned?
Yeah, that's right. So according to Apple, the Joe Rogan Experience is the most popular podcast this year in the U.S., dethroning The Daily. So Rogan was #3 last year. Now he's on top. The Daily from the New York Times is now at #2, so not too bad, but not #1 anymore. And that was followed by the Mel Robbins podcast, which wasn't even in the top 10 at all last year. So just shows how fast things can change in the podcasting world. 2 other shows broke onto the list this year: Alex Cooper's Call Her Daddy and the Ezra Klein Show, another New York Times podcast. Crime Junkie, Dateline NBC, Smartless, This American Life, and Huberman Lab also returned to the list. And we know that, Rogan and Klein spend a lot of time talking about politics, but other top shows focus on things like celebrity, unsolved crimes, and other mysteries.
All right, Crystal, thank you.
Thanks, Marcy.
That is Crystal Ramlichan. She's here live every morning via Zoom with business news on CBC. 3 degrees right now in Winnipeg. Our high today is going to be right around 5 degrees. Over in Brandon, misty -4, and up in Thompson, light snow is falling and it is -3 currently. Well, let's return to the throne speech and something that was talked about in it yesterday here in Manitoba. That new overpass, as you've been hearing in the news as well, that will soon be built in Carberry. In yesterday's throne speech, Premier Wab Kinew committed more than $100 million to build this overpass on the Trans-Canada Highway and Highway 5. As you likely recall, that is the site where 17 people were killed in a bus crash in 2023, seniors who were on their way to a casino trip. CBC's Chelsea Kemp spoke with some of the people in Brandon about what they think about the plan for this overpass. We're about to hear the first voice, and it belongs to Norman Kerr.
I'm thinking something should be done. Don't care, if it's a line over or an overpass, but something has to be done.
Do you worry about cost at all?
I'm 68 years old. The cost is whatever, but I don't care about cost. Something needs to be done. We got the money, we got the resources, and we got the manpower. Come on. We're not a small town anymore. We're getting to be part of a, population here. So.
It's busier and busier.
Yeah, with the factories and with the trucks and with, everything, industrial. Yeah. And, an overpass, roundabout, just a lane for the truckers. I don't care. Something needs to be done.
John Bjorn.
What do you think of, Highway 1 and 5 getting an overpass?
Not really thinking we should get one because, it's just going to be more problems in that corner.
What makes you say that?
Because it's just too much traffic when it comes to that. It's going to be kind of big to put something there, and it's going to be more costly to the taxpayers and stuff like that.
Does it surprise you? Because, Carberry is a smaller town. Does it surprise you to see the overpass chosen as an option?
Yeah, it was kind of weird when I heard about it, and my friend was talking about it too, and he thought, this is kind of ridiculous to put something here, we got those overpass over in Winnipeg and stuff like that, and that's just crazy to put it all the way down here in this small town.
Anything else you think I need to know at all?
Not really, just the cost is going to come up. Because, I know that fact that if it's going to be built, it's not a cheap kind of project. And if that comes, it's going to cost everybody in this town a lot of money.
We will ask the Premier about the throne speech and the multitude of things that were promised yesterday by the government. Premier Wap Kinew is here live on Information Radio after 8. We heard their CBC's Chelsea Kemp speaking to people in Brandon about this proposed overpass for Carberry. It's 12 minutes now to 7 o'clock, and we have some music to slide in from a Canadian singer-songwriter next, Scott Hellman. He's making his return to the airwaves. He's been off for a while, but his new song's all about being honest with the people you love. This is called Something About Julian.
I don't wanna live a lie, I don't wanna die alone. I don't wanna be a crime, I don't wanna be a joke. But I've been living in the dark, now I see a little glow. Yeah, you're the apple on the vine, you're the meat on the bone. You're my every reason why, you're the end of the road. Now I don't wanna make you cry, but I gotta let you know. Yeah, I'm still on a straight line, still see your waistline. When my heart beats, you're the baseline. And I ain't going nowhere, but someone out of nowhere kinda makes me wanna go there. I don't know what it is, I've never even been in the same room as him. There's just something about Julian. Yeah, I think he's in a band, but I don't really know. And I wanna hold his hand, yeah, I wanna dip a toe and listen to him talk all night on the phone. It's just a little feeling, I'm gonna let it go. Cause I'm still on a straight line, still see your waistline. When my heart beats, you're the baseline. I ain't going nowhere, but somewhere out of nowhere kinda makes me wanna go there. I don't know what it is, I've never even been in the same room as him. There's just something about Julian. I don't wanna take this straight to the grave. I'm not saying I don't love you, baby. I'm not saying that you shouldn't hate me. I'm not saying that a kiss can save me. But I've been thinking about that flavor lately. Say what you want me to say. Do you want me to play the world's smallest violin? There's something about Julian. I don't wanna make you cry, but I gotta let you know. I don't wanna be a crime, I don't wanna be a joke. I don't wanna live a lie, I don't wanna die alone. Yeah.
Scott Hellman and Something About Julian. It's 9 minutes to 7 o'clock. Next on the show, Canada is continuing to weigh its options when it comes to this country's next fleet of fighter jets. As you might have heard in the national news this week, in 2023, Canada signed a deal with Lockheed Martin to buy these 16 F-35s, with an option to scale that up to as many as 88. But now Industry Minister Melanie Joly says that might not be the best course for our country.
I don't believe that we've had enough jobs created and industrial benefits done out of the F-35 contract. I think it's not enough. I think Canadians expect more, and we should get more. So that's my first point. And second, when it comes to the Gripen, of course, we're really interested in seeing what can be done because there was an unsolicited bid that came up. 10,000 jobs is indeed a very interesting offer. So we have to look at what our military capabilities need, and at the same time, what are the number of jobs created across the country.
So the Gripen has been mentioned. It is a fighter jet made by the Swedish company Saab. Some experts warn that trying to have a mix of both of those planes and the F-35s is a bad idea. So to understand this, Richard Chimuka is with us, senior fellow at the Macdonald-Laurier Institute and contributing author for thehub.ca. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being with us. So help us understand from a defense point of view, the risk I just mentioned. What is the risk of having a mixed fleet of Gripens and F-35s?
So essentially, you have to understand there's two different generations of aircraft here. The Gripen's actually from an older generation. It's not that much more dissimilar than our current CF-18 fleet, although which is 40-some years old. constantly modernized, put new radar, sensors, and electronics on it. Now, you had a revolution sort of in military sort of conduct where you have integrated sort of battle management systems, which is the ability to sort of bring together a large amount of sensors from on an aircraft and also drones and other sort of capabilities that kind of bring all this data together and give a pilot a much more better sense of what's going on around him. That revolution is basically what the new generation of aircraft like the F-35 are reflecting. They're sort of considered to be kind of flying supercomputers. And if you look at just our allies, or not just the United States, but in NATO or in the Asia Pacific, they've all kind of moved towards this capability. If you just in pure numbers, the most common fighter that's being used by our allies is the F-35, and that's kind of reflective of how there's a difference between two aircraft. So operating these two is just it kind of puts Canada further back in sort of in where it needs to go, given that we've not really spent on our defense capabilities over past couple of years or past decades here, and really need to do a quick catch up to maintain our sort of effectiveness of our defense and deterrence against any potential threats.
So yesterday, people might have heard top military leaders in this country recently wrote a letter defending the F-35. So they're leaning that way. We don't know now, though, that obviously in this moment, Canada's we're being forced to reconsider our relationship with the United States. So does it make sense to create a more independent military at this moment? And would the choice of, if we don't go with F-35s, is that part of that message that Canada might decide to send?
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's the comments out of the Trump administration has really made what should have been just a routine sort of review of the existing program, which would probably just rubber stamp continuing buying the F-35, sort of take on a much more sort of, meaning or...
It's the politics around it, yep.
Yeah, exactly. And so two parts of that is that part of the problem with the Griffin is that it's heavily based on American electronics. It's engines built by General Electric in the United States, so it doesn't really follow that. It kind of creates that kind of gap. But second, I would point to countries. Finland has, really takes its defense seriously, and they selected the F-35, even being a sort of an ally of a close ally of Sweden. They saw it as just being more capable and able. And even just in the past couple of weeks here, Denmark, which has faced the same sort of annexation rhetoric out of the United States due to Greenland, actually bought 15 more jets. So to some degree, if you think about our sort of broader relationship with the United States, one that's gone back for several generations now, we have NORAD, which is a sort of a common core sort of pillar of our ability to defend our north. It requires high levels of integration to do effectively. And as much as as much as Trump administration's rhetoric has been upsetting, there's an underlying sort of relationship that I think kind of transcends that. And a lot of military officials you'll talk to will point to, we have a good relationship. We can get past this. And Trump will eventually leave one day, and we'll still have to defend our common territory. And we've really not spent enough to do this over the past decades here. And the F-35 is really the way we need to do so going forward.
This is the last question I want to ask you about infrastructure around this. You talked about having a mixed fleet, should that happen, and how that could affect pilots, for example, and technicians. But overall military operations, could they also be affected negatively if we decide to go the route of having a mixed fleet of Griffins and F-35s?
Oh, absolutely. And that's probably one of the reasons why it probably shouldn't happen. When you basically have a fleet of aircraft, it's not just the pilots that are operating it, but you also need a pipeline of trainers and maintainers and all that, right? That's kind of supportive, bringing forward. They can't force it because there's just so few pilots and maintainers currently, because we've underspent and you're operating a 45-year-old aircraft right now. Really, they don't have the spare capacity to operate two fighter jets at the same time. That if you try to bifurcate this system going forward, you're basically going to actually make the two fleets less capable, because there's not enough people to go around to operate just even one fighter, not to speak of two. So that's really been a challenge going forward that I think the Air Force really wants to avoid.
All right, Richard, thank you very much for your analysis.
Thanks very much.
Richard Shamuka, Senior Fellow at the Macdonald-Laurier Institute and contributing author for the Hub.ca. I was grateful for that interview. I was hearing that story in World Report yesterday and wondering why are they supporting one over the other. Let's get to Heather Wells, who's here at 3 minutes to 7 with our news headlines.
Good morning. Well, the province's plan to end mandated overtime for nurses in hospital emergency rooms is being met with skepticism. Sonia Udod at the College of Nursing at the University of Manitoba wonders who will care for patients if nurses aren't required to stay to fill vacant shifts. A Winnipeg man who lost his son to an overdose welcomes the province's plan to open a supervised consumption site early next year. Chuck Neufeld says he supports having a place to test drugs and make sure people get help. I'll be back with more Manitoba news coming up at 7:30.
Thanks, Heather.
Thanks.
Traffic's fine. Could be a little slick out there. 788-3093 if you need us. It's 3 degrees in Winnipeg currently. Our high today is going to be right around 2, so we're actually going to drop a degree. Pardon me, I'm looking at the wrong day. Our high is going to be 5, so we'll go up 3. 30% chance of showers this afternoon, and it is going to be mainly cloudy in the city. I'm Marcy Marcusa with our team here at Information Radio on CBC, and thanks for joining us on the morning show. Still ahead after 7 o'clock. Could climate change jeopardize the future of winter sports? Well, it is something that ski clubs in our province are thinking about. They're waiting patiently for the first major snowfall of the season. And think about this. Temperatures might not even be cold enough to make artificial snow. Where's that going to leave us? Also, 7:40 this morning, the Manitoba government introducing legislation to eliminate the need for sick notes for short-term illness. We've been reporting on this. We hit the street yesterday to find out how Winnipeggers feel about that. We're going to get some reaction from our capital city here. And then at 10 to 8, we will hear more from that man that Heather just mentioned. A man who says that there has to be give and take for those for and against supervised consumption sites, and he's happy to see it announced yesterday officially in the throne speech. So we'll expand on that story as well. All that's still ahead. World Report, though, is next. It's 1 minute to 7 on CBC.
Today on The Current.
There's a lot of worry, there's a lot of concern that there is no path forward for them.
Youth unemployment is high, the cost of living is skyrocketing, buying a home can seem impossible. The Gen Z economist Kyle Scanlon gives a window into how her generation experiences the world of money and their hopes for their financial future, coming up on The Current.
The Current with Matt Galloway. This morning at 8:37, 9:07 in Newfoundland, and on the CBC Listen app.
This is World Report. Good morning. I'm Marcia Young. Billions of dollars of potential foreign investment in Canada are on the line for Prime Minister Mark Carney. He lands in the United Arab Emirates today, and he is looking to make a deal with the Gulf state. But as Karina Roman reports, critics at home are questioning Carney's choice of trading partner.
There's no such thing as a perfect partner or ally out there for Canada to be doing business with.
Diamond Isinger was a trade and policy advisor to former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. She says when dealing with so-called imperfect allies, Canada can still push its values on human rights quietly. In fact, the Business Council of Canada's president, Goldie Hyder, says if there was ever a time for pragmatism, it's now.
The world has changed fundamentally.
Prime Minister Mark Carney is set to meet the United Arab Emirates president this week, with hopes the two countries will sign a foreign investment promotion and protection agreement. The Gulf state is home to some of the world's largest sovereign wealth funds, and Carney's growing list of major projects needs capital.
Our Prime Minister has made it a point to attract foreign investment into Canada.
But the UAE faces allegations, ones it denies, that it's financially supporting a paramilitary group committing atrocities in Sudan. And human rights experts argue any deal should come with a condition that the UAE stop backing the violence in Sudan. Yona Diamond is senior legal counsel at the Raoul Wallenberg Center for Human Rights.
The question is, how will he go down in history? Will he be remembered as someone who puts profits over the protection of a population facing destruction?
After the UAE, Carney heads to the G20 summit in Johannesburg, where he will continue his bid to diversify Canada's trading partners, although he won't be sitting down with U.S. President Donald Trump. He is boycotting the G20 this year. Karina Roman, CBC News, Ottawa.
The widow of Jamal Khashoggi is calling out U.S. President Donald Trump for his defense of the Saudi crown prince. Hanan Alatar Khashoggi's husband was tortured and killed by Saudi agents in 2018. U.S. intelligence officials say the journalist's death was ordered by the Crown Prince. Still, during the meeting at the White House yesterday, Trump defended Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Hanan Alatar Khashoggi says there is no justification for her husband's murder.
Kidnapping, torture, and killing and dismantle a body because he's controversial or he's unliked by someone. It doesn't give a reason to any criminal to take someone innocent person's life away.
Khashoggi points out that in a 2019 interview, the Saudi Crown Prince took responsibility for the journalist's death, but denied any direct involvement. Bin Salman has been criticized by human rights groups, not only for the Khashoggi killing, but for his crackdown on dissent against his government at home. Ukrainian officials say Russia attacked critical infrastructure, residential homes, and education centers overnight. And state services say 20 people were killed in the western city of Ternopil. The airstrikes come as the Ukrainian president meets with world leaders. As Christel Gomansing reports, Volodymyr Zelensky is seeking more security support and weapons.
Fire crews struggled to extinguish flames burning hours after a high-rise building in Ternopil was hit in an airstrike. People stood watching, looking at another building blown apart in a nearly 4-year-long war. Emergency State Services of Ukraine says overnight and into this morning, Russia launched more than 470 drones and 48 missiles, causing multiple deaths and sending dozens to hospitals. In the capital, Kyiv, people ran into metro stations for shelter as debris from drones shot down started falling. The attacks across the country have affected the power grid. Ukraine's president says he wants to intensify peace talks, but so far they've gone nowhere. Volodymyr Zelensky is in Turkey meeting with his counterpart, Recep Tayyip Erdogan. U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff is also set to join those talks. Turkey's president is friendly with both Ukraine and Russia and has previously hosted talks between the two parties. Christel Gomansing, CBC News, London.
Rescue workers rush into a Palestinian camp in Lebanon's coastal city of Sidon. Officials say at least 13 people are dead after an Israeli airstrike late Tuesday. Israel's military says it targeted members of Hamas operating in a training compound. They say the site was being used to prepare an attack on Israel and its military. Hamas condemns the attack and denies that it was a training camp. The group says the strike hit a playground. Israel has continued to carry out strikes in Lebanon since the October 7 Hamas attack. Its main target has been the Iran-backed group Hezbollah, but it has also targeted Hamas leadership and fighters within Lebanon's borders. More than 130,000 people are listed as missing or disappeared in Mexico. That number puts the country in a category with Syria and Colombia. But Mexico City is embarking on a new project. It plans to exhume and identify thousands of bodies and hopefully find some of those people who have vanished. Jorge Barrera reports.
Se llama ruda, es una plantita.
Mariel de Rocio Fragoso says she put a stem of the herb rue in her hair as protection from the negative energy coming from the opening of a section in Mexico City's largest common grave. Bodies never reclaimed or identified lie here.
Me gustaría encontrar a mi hija.
I want to find my daughter, she says. Her daughter, Karen Estefania, vanished in 2018. De Rocio Fragoso joined over a dozen families at the Panteón Civil Dolores Cemetery as officials began a project with no deadline to exhume and identify thousands of bodies buried over the past 65 years.
We are still doing that work to obtain the major number of identities possible in this process.
Luis Gomez Negrete heads the agency tasked with finding Mexico City's missing. Over 7,000 listed as disappeared. He says a review of cemetery files and records of the missing showed hundreds of possible matches, triggering this project.
Soy aquí porque nos hicieron.
They notified my family that my brother is here, says Sofia Lara Alfonso. Her older brother Carlos Alfonso was homeless and in 2012 died in hospital. The family, which had filed a missing persons report, was never notified.
Para mí siempre fue mi mejor amigo de niña.
He was always my best friend. Officials said they recovered 90 fragments of human remains from Tuesday's first stage of the dig, which will now be analyzed. Jorge Barrera, CBC News, Mexico City.
The most valuable pieces in the Hudson's Bay Art Collection are about to hit the auction block. 27 paintings owned by the Shuttered department store go on sale this afternoon. And the star of the auction is expected to be a painting by former British Prime Minister Winston Churchill. It's an oil painting of Marrakech in Morocco, and it is expected to fetch as much as $600,000. Ultra-processed foods can be hard to avoid for millions of Canadians. Items like ready-made meals and mass-produced bread pack grocery store shelves. Now, doctors around the world are issuing a fresh warning about how bad those foods can be for your health. Still, it can be hard to cut them out of your diet. Jennifer Yoon explains.
There's a lot of food. At the Parkdale Community Food Bank in Toronto, volunteers lay out all kinds of food. Fresh produce, along with ultra-processed items like breakfast cereals or mass-produced bread. Executive Director Kitty Raman Costa wants to make sure her clients have access to whole foods, even though many have no choice but to reach for ultra-processed options.
They're not just more convenient, they're the only option for people depending on their circumstance. Oftentimes they don't have access to a proper kitchen to safely store and safely prepare fresh foods.
In Canada, more than half the foods we buy are ultra-processed, say researchers, meaning they have additives, high amounts of sugars, flavors, or emulsifiers you wouldn't usually find in a home kitchen. Experts around the world are warning in a series of studies published by The Lancet, the rise in ultra-processed foods poses a major public health threat, and governments need to take action to reduce consumption. Jean-Claude Mubarak is one of the co-authors and the professor at the Université de Montréal.
We have a great opportunity to address the chronic diseases that we're facing in this country by changing the food system, and we can't just be the last country to do so.
He says Canada could learn from other countries like Brazil, which has a free school lunch program focused on whole foods and limiting ultra-processed foods. Others have beefed up labeling requirements for unhealthy foods. Mubarak says programs like that should be considered here in Canada. Jennifer Yoon, CBC News, Toronto.
That is the latest national and international news from World Report. If you like the World Report podcast, please follow us and tell a friend. It helps spread the word. I'm Marcia Young.
Well, hello, everybody. How's your Wednesday going? I'm Marcy Marcusa. Thanks for being with us on Information Radio on 89.3 FM, 990 AM on that app, or maybe you're watching on YouTube. So I know we love to talk about the weather. We hate to talk about the weather, right? But in Manitoba, snow is something we always get, or at least we can always make it. But maybe not. This hour on the show, could climate change jeopardize the future of winter sports? It's something ski clubs in Manitoba are thinking about as they patiently wait for that first major snowfall of the season. So we'll dig into that. Also at 7:40, the Manitoba government is introducing legislation, as you've been hearing, that would eliminate the need for sick notes for short-term illness. Jim Agapito took that question to the street. How would that impact your life? And then at 10 to 8 this morning, a supervised consumption site will be opened in the new year. That was in the throne speech yesterday. We'll hear more from someone whose son died of an overdose, about why he says this site is a step in the right direction. So that's coming up. We also have the Premier Live, but that's in the next hour after 8. Just want to preview that. Heather has more analysis of the throne speech and other stories, though. She's here with headlines now. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, the Manitoba Nurses Union backs ending mandatory overtime for healthcare workers, but says the system still doesn't have enough nurses to make that happen. Yesterday's speech from the throne commits to beginning the process of ending mandatory overtime, starting with nurses. So we'll hear more reaction to that coming up. And after 8 months of protest, Thunderbird House is getting repairs. The copper on the roof of the Indigenous gathering place is coming off. Repairs are needed inside as well. That building fell into disrepair after the COVID-19 pandemic. I'll be back with more Manitoba News coming up at 7:30.
All right, thanks, Heath.
Thank you.
And the forecast now. Chloe Friesen's in for Abby.
Hello. We've actually dropped a degree in the downtown. We're sitting at 2 degrees currently. Looking at mainly cloudy skies for today, 30% chance of showers this afternoon and a high of +5. Tonight, looking at mainly cloudy skies, 60% chance of rain showers or flurries this evening and after midnight. I know you were just talking about snow there, Marcy. Wind up to 15 kilometers an hour, a low of -1, but with the wind chill feeling like -5 overnight. Tomorrow, sunny skies, wind up to 15. Once again, a high of +2. Wind chill, you'll feel more like -5 in the morning. And I'll have more on the wider forecast later on.
All right, thanks, Chloe. Corey Friesen. All the funks and Friesens in this province. Now I get to tell you my Henry Dick story.
Okay.
Do you know this story?
No.
I started working in Steinbach years ago in my early 20s, and I was at a restaurant, and they had to do a PA announcement. And I was sitting with friends, like that I newly met friends from the Steinbach radio station, and a lot of them happened to be Mennonite, and so this is, I was new to town, and they announced over the PA system in this space. They said, could Henry Dick please come to the front? And everybody I was sitting with started laughing, and I said, why is everyone laughing? And they said, because probably 5 guys are going to get up. All the shared names. So sorry, Funkin' Friesen.
That's okay.
I do know who you are. Did you bike in this morning? What was it like?
I did. Yeah, it was a little slick. You could see that sheen on the road a little bit. So heads up, might be a touch slippery. Other than that, though, haven't heard of any major issues out there. But if you're walking, biking, driving, you see something, you can give me a call on the CBC commuter line, and I'll pick up and tell folks what you're seeing. That number, 204-788-3093.
Well, let's talk about this idea about climate change in Manitoba. What do warmer and shorter winters mean for the future of winter sport here? It is something ski clubs here are thinking about, as I mentioned, as they patiently wait for the first snowfall of the season. A CBC series nationally is examining how climate change is impacting the future of winter sports. It found that the planet getting warmer is making some sports a lot more vulnerable, as you can imagine, like skiing. A 2024 study commissioned by the International Olympic Committee found that the number of locations to host the Winter Olympic and Paralympic Games is rapidly shrinking. It found just half of the 21 previous host cities would be suitable to host by the 2050s due to climate change. Only half. Of course, fake snow can be manufactured, but you still need cold weather to do that. Karen McSherry is with us to talk about this through Manitoba Lens. She's executive director of the Cross Country Ski Association here. She says the season usually starts the first week of December, but that might change this year. And she's with us on the phone today. Hi there.
Good morning, Marcy.
So why might that change this year? Where are you guys at?
Well, we can't make snow, of course, until it gets below zero and stays there. So we're waiting for that to happen.
You did a bit of a look back at ski seasons. What did you find in terms of how things are, have been affected by the weather changing?
Well, I have records for the last 20 years. That's how long I've been in this job. And it's not terribly significant. We would have an average of 107 days at Windsor Park Nordic Center, for example, open for 107 days for 20 years ago, and in the last 10 years that has shrunk to about 95 days. But I think that's just an indication that climate change has been happening for quite some time, and it probably there's significant longer days back, further back than 20 years ago. So, but certainly most recently we are noticing, as you just mentioned, events needing to be canceled because there just isn't snow.
What does that mean for also how young athletes and skiers are able to train for things?
Yeah, well, I mean, for example, this weekend we have provincial team heading out west to where we assumed was guaranteed snow for our annual early snow training camp, which we have to travel to the mountains. And where we were heading has no snow. And so that event has been canceled, and that training camp, we've had to move to a different location that apparently is the only place out west that has snow at the moment.
In terms of the ski season usually starting the first week of December, that's like 2 weeks out from now. How optimistic are you or not?
Well, hey, always optimistic, Marcy. Come on. I mean, I'm seeing -6, I think, for Sunday, and maybe that will just continue on all next week, and that would be wonderful, and we'll start making snow.
Are you concerned about the future of cross-country ski in Manitoba, or is that overstating it, given what you've said, that we have seen shifts here, but?
Well, I mean, yeah, I think it's not overstating it to be concerned. I mean, we operate Windsor Park Nordic Centre here in Winnipeg, and we've invested a significant amount of money over the past few years in infrastructure to be able to make snow. That's not a reality for our clubs in the province. So it's going to significantly reduce the number of places that you can cross-country ski. And it's going to mean traveling to places that have snow, and that, that's a change.
How often do you have to make the snow? Can you make it and have it last you for the season, or how does that actually work?
Yes, ideally we make it early season, and we have a little bit of a stockpile. We create a trail, and that should last for the season.
Okay, and you're talking about Windsor Park Nordic Centre specifically for that?
That's right, yes.
Yeah. Are you hearing about this ever from athletes, coaches, and parents? I mean, obviously, you were just mentioning that you have an event right now where, the provincial team's not going to be able to go to this event because it's been canceled due to lack of snow. What do you hear from the teams and trainers?
We're all in this together, and so there's really not much we can do, and so we don't commiserate.
Yeah, fair enough. What are you going to do? Watch the forecast.
Right.
Early ski camps, I understand, are something that you'll be particularly watching because how early in the season do you hope to start ideally if you had the ideal weather?
Yeah, I mean, ideally right now, the end of November.
Got it. And that might change in the future.
Yes.
Thank you very much for being with us this morning, Karen. We'll watch for the snow for you.
Okay, thanks, Marcy.
Yeah, take care. Karen McSherry is the Executive Director of the Cross Country Ski Association of Manitoba. Lots in that interview, including the fact that they are worried about even being able to make snow. They're needing those temperatures to dip consistently below zero. Today, not the case. Already at 7:19 a.m., we're at 2 degrees.
If it happened today, find out today. That's the power of having the news in your hand. Get late-breaking news from reporters across the country, straight to your mobile device. Customize your experience with news from your region and what matters to you. Whether it's big headlines, detailed articles, live events, or on-demand video, CBC News has got you covered. Connect to the world. Download the free CBC News app or visit cbcnews.ca.
What are you doing tomorrow night? Maybe you're heading down Osborne to go to the Park Theatre and to check out Juno-nominated artist Julian Taylor and Mohawk singer-songwriter Logan Statz. They've partnered together. They're playing here tomorrow night. Here they are on CBC 89.3 FM with Folk Song.
And I know you're listening from the driver's seat of that old Ford. And I know you miss me. Your bride must be sore. She's wearing an outfit from her mother's store. She's living a life her heart can't afford. And I know that I'm right, but I hope that I'm wrong. She'll never love me, but she'll always love my songs. And I know that I'm right, but I hope that I'm wrong. She'll never love love me, but she'll always love my songs, my song. My song, in my song, my lonely, lonely song. You know, I got my fists up, but I don't wanna fight. And I can't find my day's love, 'cause I'm searching all night. She just wants a folk song, not anything more. She just wants a folk song, one she can adore. And I know that I'm right, but I hope that I'm wrong. She'll never love me, but she'll always love my song. And I know that I'm right, but I hope that I'm wrong. She'll never love me, but she'll always love my song. My song, my song, my song. My lonely, lonely song. And I know that I'm right, but I hope that I'm wrong. She'll never love me, but she'll always love my song. And I know that I'm right, but I hope that I'm wrong. She'll never love me, but she'll always love my songs. And I know, yes I know, and I know, yes I know, and I know. That I'm wrong. She'll never love me, but she'll always love my song.
I love that dusty sound when it gets kind of dusky and deep and down in the vocals. So good. That is Folk Song. Logan Stats partnering with Juno-nominated artist Julian Taylor. They will play the Park Theatre tomorrow night. You can check it out. It is 7:25 a.m. on 89.3 FM, 990 a.m. on that app and YouTube. It is time for morning sports, and that means that Scott Regehr is joining us live. Good morning.
Hey, Marcy.
So on a milestone night, the Jets managed to win against Columbus.
Yeah, 5-2 over the Blue Jackets. A couple of Jets, Marcy, got their first goals of the season. Adam Lowry, the captain, and Neil Pionk, the defender, tickled the twine for the game winner, actually. It was a different Jet, however, that stole the show. Mark Scheifele led the way offensively at 3 points. Fittingly, his 898th game for the team was the one in which he got the 3 points, making him the new franchise leader in games played. For his part, Scheifele says he wasn't really keeping track of that mark, a sentiment echoed by longtime lineman and friend Kyle Connor.
Kind of flew under the radar. I don't know if other guys knew, but I kind of had no idea. But an awesome accomplishment. He's been a pillar for this organization for a long time. You know, one of the first draft picks here, just being mentors to so many guys, and he leads by example. He's also very vocal, carrying guys, pushing each other, and he bleeds Winnipeg Jet hockey and lays his heart and his sleeve out there every time he steps on the ice. And so, yeah, pretty cool accomplishment to have that record.
Scheifele also the franchise leader in goals and points, although he says he's not going to celebrate until he catches Dale Hawerchuk, the late Dale Hawerchuk, and the Jets' 1.0 franchise marks. Winnipeg's back in action Friday. They welcome Nick Ehlers and the Carolina Hurricanes.
Let's stay with hockey for a second here. There's concerns over the future of one of Canada's PWHL teams.
Yeah, the Ottawa Charge, the municipal government, Marcy, recently approved plans to redevelop Lansdowne Park. So the arena there is going to be reduced in size by roughly 3,000 seats. And that would mean the Charge's capacity would shrink to 5,500 or thereabouts. Not enough, according to Amy Shear, the PWHL's head of business operations.
These women have worked too hard to get to the point today where a 5,500 seat building is well below what we average. And so we will not play at Lansdowne 2.0. That's the one option not on the table. But every other option is on the table. And we certainly don't want to leave Ottawa. We chose Ottawa for a reason. And the fans have been wonderfully supportive of us there. And we'd like to find a solution that works for us to stay in Ottawa. But the city hasn't made it easy for us.
Wow. So last season, the Charge averaged around 7,500 fans. That was second in the league in attendance. Ottawa Mayor Mark Sutcliffe says the city is working with the league to find solutions. Let's hope so.
Yeah, that's saying something, right? Let's finish with footy. Canada's last match of the year was a winning one.
Yeah, 2-0 over Venezuela in a stadium in Florida that was mostly empty, had kind of a pandemic-era vibe, if I'm being honest. It was a chippy affair, red cards on both sides. But Canada scored twice for the first time in a few games, actually. So, ending 2025 on a winning note against Venezuela. But how about yesterday, Scotland? With a chance to book a spot in the World Cup for the first time in 28 years, Marcy, the Scots needed to upset Denmark. Heading into stoppage time, it was tied in Glasgow, so not enough for them to go through. But then the magic happened. Kieran Tierney with a curling strike from outside the box to give them the lead, and then, with the Danes furiously seeking an equalizer, this happened.
He's looking to go for goal from the halfway line. Glorious! We are returning to the World Cup. What a night!
BBC Scotland's call of Kenny McLean's audacious goal from the halfway line, which went over the head of the Danish keeper, who was well off his line. Glorious it was, Marcy, and glorious it will be to have the Tartan Army back at the World Cup. Pretty cool.
Man, people don't realize, I mean, maybe people that follow sports do and follow World Cup and footy, but I mean, how hard it is to get in, right? How long you're going to wait. And when World Cup was here one of the years, and not here, but when people here were watching World Cup one of the years, they put this big screen up in Memorial Park outside the Ledge. And it was, I'm not going to remember the countries, so I'll have to look back at that on the fly here talking. But people who had never been in the World Cup before, their countries, they came and they just sat on the grass, and I've never heard anyone scream so loud in my life when their team started making it to the pitch and they were kind of joining. The communities would come out and celebrate, It's just so much fun.
Yeah, and hey, Curacao, the smallest nation ever at 156,000 people to make it into the world's biggest sporting event yesterday. That's a testament to exactly what you're saying. It is so hard. And with an expanded group of teams, 48 at this World Cup next summer, we're going to see more debutantes as well, I'm sure. And Haiti, first time in... Since 1974, the Haitians made it through yesterday.
And
Pretty cool.
And hear more of those awesome calls, where people,
Yeah,
the
for
moments.
sure.
Now you know why they're so vibrant and amazing
Yeah.
when you hear them. All right, thanks for sharing the joy. Take care.
You bet.
Scott Ricard back here with sports again tomorrow. Your CBC Winnipeg News is next.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells. In Winnipeg at 7:30, it's 2 degrees. We had some showers overnight in parts of the city. There's a slight chance we'll see that continue today. Otherwise, another mild one, a high of 5. The province's plan to end mandated overtime for nurses in hospital emergency rooms is being met with skepticism. Sonia Udod at the College of Nursing at the University of Manitoba wonders who will care for patients if nurses aren't required to stay to fill vacant shifts. Udod says the main problem is retention. She says almost 60% of new nurses trained in Manitoba leave the profession within 2 years. Udod says there are too many challenges in the workplace, including violence and harassment.
They're afraid, they're scared, they're doubtful, and they're not sure how to manage that demanding and unpredictable work environment that they are tasked with being in.
UDOT says graduating more nurses won't solve the problem. She says there has to be a cultural shift where nurses' workplace concerns are the top priority. The province says it is planning to open a supervised consumption site in Winnipeg in January. The news was part of yesterday's speech from the throne. Chuck Neufeld supports a place to test drugs and make sure people get medical help. His son died from an overdose in 2021, just days after being released from a treatment center.
I think it's important that these people that are taking drugs that are going to hopefully try to wean themselves off of it, they have a place that they can go, that they can trust the people that are in there to give them some advice and some help.
It's still not clear where this site will be located. Manitoba initially had wanted to open one at 200 Disraeli. The Premier says the new location is west of that site, close to the organizations already providing services. The mayor of Carberry is relieved. A highway overpass will be built near his town. The intersection of the Trans-Canada and Highway 5 is where 17 people died after a bus and semi collided on June 23rd. The province had planned to build an R-cut at that intersection, which requires U-turns and merges, but many in Carberry opposed that plan. Mayor Ray Muirhead says the province's decision to change gears means a lot to his town.
It's probably the most expensive option, which I'm sure it is, but how do you put a price on safety? I mean, I think it's a good move.
Premier Wab Kinew says the overpass will cost north of $100 million. Design work is expected to begin next year. After 8 months of protests, Thunderbird House is getting repairs. The copper on the roof of the Indigenous gathering place in Winnipeg is coming off. Repairs are needed inside as well. A group of protesters have been occupying the Main Street space since March to persuade the board of directors to fix it. This week, it was announced the roof is being repaired. Welcome news for protest organizer Megan Salwan.
I'm excited. I can't wait for it to be done. I feel like us being here, like community actually like using this space, got them to be like, hey, there's people who actually love this place, let's get it done. Like, I think if we just left it alone and things were still happening before, I don't think anything would have happened.
The board of directors says the first priority was to get the roof fixed. They say a lot of the work has already been done behind the scenes to get those repairs started. Nurses in northern Manitoba vote today on whether to grey-list another hospital in this province. The Manitoba Nurses Union is asking members to vote on whether or not to grey-list Thompson Hospital. Grey-listing is when a union advises current and prospective members not to seek employment at a particular facility because of ongoing safety issues. This past August, MNU members voted to grey-list Winnipeg's Health Sciences Centre. Nurses in the north will vote electronically from today until Friday. The Alert Ready system is being tested across Canada today. Text messages will be broadcast on television, radio, and compatible wireless devices. The tests in Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Alberta happen at 1:55 this afternoon, local time. The system is tested to ensure it works, and so officials can practice issuing alerts for emergencies like tornadoes, wildfires, and amber alerts. The most valuable pieces in the Hudson's Bay art collection are about to hit the auction block. 27 paintings owned by the Shuttered department store go on sale this afternoon. And the star of the auction is expected to be a painting by former British Prime Minister Winston Churchill. It's an oil painting of Marrakesh in Morocco, and it is expected to fetch as much as $600,000. You can hear more national and international news coming up on World Report at 8. First goal of the season.
Pionk fire scores!
Neil Pionk in the second period on TSN as the Jets beat the visiting Blue Jackets 5-2. Mark Scheifele with 3 assists in the Jets' first game back from a Western road swing.
First game after a long road trip, you kind of never know what you're going to get. So you just try to get the energy up and know that they had a tough. That's a really tough back-to-back for those guys. So we knew we just wanted to jump on them early, and it was a good effort.
It was also Scheifele's 898th game, the most of any player in Jets franchise history. The assistant captain says he's been in Winnipeg a long time and sometimes feels old, but adds it is all a tremendous honor. The Jets now get set to host a former Jet, Nikolai Ehlers, and the Carolina Hurricanes in town Friday. You can find more news at cbc.ca/Manitoba.
All right, Heather Wells, thank you.
Thank you.
So good news for the Jets last night. 7:36 a.m. the time right now on your Wednesday morning. Thanks for joining us here. Behind the glass today, we have Mr. Darren Marash and Corey Funk, and Chloe Friesen's in for Abby. And now we have our regional forecast details. Hi.
Hello, Marcy. 2 degrees here in the city of Winnipeg downtown. Mainly cloudy skies today. 30% chance of showers this afternoon and a high of +5. We could see those showers turn to flurries tonight. Mainly cloudy skies, 60% chance of rain showers or snow this evening and after midnight. A low of -1, but of course wind chill. You'll feel -5 out there overnight. Thursday, sunny skies, wind up to 15, a high of +2. Wind chill -5 in the morning. That's tomorrow here in Winnipeg. Heading to the Pembina Valley, Morden, Winkler, Altona, Morris. Today, mainly cloudy skies, 30% chance of showers this afternoon and a high of 7. Tonight, partly cloudy skies, 60% chance of rain showers or flurries in the evening, a low of -1. And tomorrow in the Pembina Valley, sunny skies, wind up to 15, a high of +4, wind chill -5 just in the morning there. In Brandon, Killarney, Melita, Boissevain, surrounding areas, mainly cloudy today. Fog patches dissipating near noon, a high of +3. Tonight, mainly cloudy skies, 60% chance of showers early this evening. Wind becoming west 20 near midnight, a low of -6, with the wind chill -12 overnight in Brandon. Thursday, sunny skies, wind up to 15, a high of +4, wind chill -12 in the morning. And then heading to Thompson, today, cloudy, 30% chance of light snow in Thompson. Fog patches will dissipate this morning. High of -3, wind chill near -7. Tonight, snow ending before morning, then cloudy, amounting to 2 to 4 centimeters of snow there. Low of -6 with a wind chill -5 this evening and -10 overnight. Thursday in the north, cloudy with a 60% chance of light snow. Wind becoming northwest 20 near noon and temperature falling to -8 in the afternoon. That's tomorrow. Wind chill -10 in the morning and -15 in the afternoon. So things definitely cooling down in Thompson beginning tomorrow.
All right, thanks.
No problem.
Corey?
Got a call from Pam on the commuter line. She said northbound Sherbrooke, it's always northbound, and Cumberland, there's actually a car that seems to have gotten in some sort of issue with it in the far left lane on Sherbrooke, and it's also kind of blocking the far right lane on eastbound Cumberland. Says tires are all wonky, so it's more than just a stall. So it's starting to get backed up, says Pam, on Sherbrooke. So maybe a little bit slow going. Keep right to get around that. If you're heading down Cumberland, you want to keep left, actually, if you're going eastbound. So if you see anything else going on out there, haven't heard of any other major issues, but if you do see something, if you're walking, biking, driving, give me a call. That number, 204-788-3093.
All right. Thank you, Corey.
Thank you.
Next on CBC, we've been talking this week about a change coming to doctors' sick notes, and this was confirmed in the throne speech yesterday. Some Manitoba workplaces, when it comes to doctors' sick notes, require that note if their employees will be absent from work. But that also could all soon change then, depending on your employer. So in the throne speech, the province is planning to introduce this legislation. What it would do is end sick notes for short-term illness. So that means that employers would be banned from demanding sick notes from their employees unless they've been absent from work for 7 calendar days. So it's a significant change. How do Winnipeggers feel about it, though? How is it resonating where you work? CBC's Jim Agapito hit the street yesterday to find out.
Bernie Petit.
Do you hold a position of management or are you a worker? I'm just curious.
Management.
Does your job require you to have sick notes when you're ill?
Our policy, yes. After a few days, you have to have a sick note.
How many days would that be?
I think it's 2 days.
Okay, and how do you feel about that?
I feel like a lot of doctors take a lot longer than 2 days to get in to get a sick note, and that I should just be able to trust my staff that if they're sick, they're sick.
What do you think about the idea of ending sick notes?
I think it's a good idea. If you use up all your sick days, you use up all your sick days. So if you need 5 days because you have a sickness, then you should be able to just use those days up.
My name is Ryan Mushrow. I am a worker.
Does your work require you have sick notes when you're ill?
I would think so in most circumstances, yes. I work in healthcare, so I think in certain circumstances it's necessary as a stopgap to make sure that people are using, work resources appropriately. But I think sometimes it can be a little overbearing, especially given the nature of some conditions, especially physical disabilities, things like that. Like, we shouldn't be asking people to trek out all over the place to get notes just to justify some time off.
What do you think of the idea about ending sick notes?
I think, like many other ideas, it's obviously worth a shot. I think it's always worth trying new approaches to these kinds of things. I would probably support something like that in a test scenario.
My name is Sydney Kachu. I'm just a regular employee. I don't manage anything.
Does your work require you to have a sick note when you're feeling ill?
I don't know about the whole place. I work at a very big workplace, but my boss personally doesn't require it. She has a lot of trust in us.
What do you think of the idea of getting rid of sick notes?
Well, I have a chronic illness, so the idea of sick notes is a little frustrating to me because if you're trying to recover, obviously you don't want to leave your house and get other people sick. Wait times for a doctor, so I would be all okay for getting rid of those, but again, people take advantage of systems a lot, so there's pros and cons.
What have you seen done or heard?
Well, each workplace has their own way to deal with that. Some people get questioned by upper level, maybe get a small punishment or docked pay or something. Personally, I've never seen it. I've only ever heard stuff about that.
I'm Miranda Zadarozny. So I own Crafted Crust at the sandwich shop here with my husband.
Do you require a sick note from your employees when they're feeling ill?
No, I don't. We pretty much have an honor basis. I'm a millennial, so honestly, if they send me a text saying they're not well, I take them at face value. I worked in an office for 8 years, and I felt like, you would be genuinely sick and you would be needing a sick note, which, sometimes I understand it's for a good reason, but sometimes I'd be like, I'm just sick and I need to rest. And so sometimes the idea of going down to a clinic to get a sick note feels a little bit counterintuitive maybe, just that you're having to go out into the public sick to get a note to claim that you're sick. If you're sick, you need to rest. That's my opinion. So I suppose if it ended up being longer than a week, you might want to just see, are you okay? Maybe you should go to a doctor. But as for taking time off, I don't feel that you need a note here anyways. So.
Terry Erdman. I'm an employee here at the Forks.
The idea of sick notes, does your employer require you to have a sick note when you're ill?
No, we do not do that here. We have trust, we build trust with each other, and that if we say we're sick, we trust that we are being honest.
So the idea of getting rid of sick notes, how do you feel about that?
Honestly, I think I would definitely say I'm in favor of getting rid of them because to me, it just doesn't seem very pointless. It seems kind of pointless to be like, oh, you have the sniffles, you need to go to a doctor now and get everyone in the waiting room infected, right? So not to mention it's now I have to pay out of pocket for gas to get there, and plus it's, the sick note costs money, right? So, and for someone like me who, is a wage worker, that becomes a lot of money, So personally, I'd be in favor of that.
CBC's Jim Agapito speaking to Winnipeggers about getting rid of sick notes altogether, but also what they think of the province's plan that was confirmed in the throne speech yesterday to change the use of sick notes for short-term illness and not require them before 7 days. Well, speaking of being sick, it is a time of year where a lot of people start thinking about getting their flu shots. Canada is seeing a rise in diagnosed flu cases, and at the same time, as you might have heard recently in the news, there's a possibility that one of the strains causing the flu might have dodged this year's vaccine. To explain, we're joined by Dr. Raj Bhardwaj. Good morning.
Good morning, Marcy.
So we've been hearing about this a bit in the news. Can you explain to us this potential mismatch between this year's flu vaccine and then this strain that's going around?
Yeah, so remember that a vaccine, it's basically a piece of information for your immune system, right? It shows your immune system what to watch out for, kind of like a wanted poster in those old Western movies. So each year, experts around the world look at which viruses are circulating, and they make a prediction as to which ones will be circulating 8 or 9 months in the future, which is now. And that's hard to do, especially for this H3N2 influenza A virus, because of the way that it can mutate quite quickly, it can evolve, and basically it makes it look different enough from the wanted poster that it can slip past your first line of defense and cause infection even though you were vaccinated. And that's what we think might happen this year. The H3N2 types that we're seeing in Canada look different enough from the one that was chosen from the wanted poster, the vaccine, that your immune system might not recognize it as well as we had hoped. So they're seeing the same trends with this H3N2 mutant strain in Japan and in the UK. So it's not just Canada's public health folks that are sounding the warning bells about this. It's people from all over the Northern Hemisphere.
What happens when there's a mismatch between the vaccine and the circulating virus type? Are we in for a worse flu season because of that? I mean, most people just think, well, I guess I shouldn't get it then.
Yeah, so lots of stuff to unpack there. So first of all, are we in for a worse flu season? I mean, that's one of those questions that, man, if I could predict the future like that, I'd be in Vegas predicting the future about other things. It's really hard to predict what's going to be a bad flu season because it depends on so many factors. But if we have more people who are not well protected against H3N2, this one strain that has changed its appearance enough, then that means, if more people get sick, that means more people probably end up in hospital. That means probably more people end up succumbing to the flu. That would be a worse flu season for sure. On the other hand, if we look at past years, we know that even if there's a mismatch between the H3N2 part of the vaccine and the circulating H3N2 viruses, we actually still get pretty good protection from the flu shot for some things. So it might not be a great protection against getting infected in the first place, but still quite good protection against getting so sick that you end up in hospital. So early data from the UK, it was just released on November 12th, is showing that getting the flu shot this year still reduces hospitalization in kids by 70 to 75% and in adults by 30 to 40% compared to people who didn't get the flu shot. But, the science of the immune system is complicated, and it's hard to predict how much the vaccine is going to protect you until we have the data. Sort of at the other end of the flu season, we can kind of look back and say, did we have a bad flu season? But it's very hard to look forward and say, will we have a bad flu season?
Okay, got it. Now, H3N2, that's the name of the strain that we're watching here. Does it usually make people sicker than H1N1?
Yeah, actually it does. So it generally causes more severe infections, especially in older people and especially in kids. That means more trips to the ER and more admissions to hospital, and unfortunately more deaths from influenza. And if we zoom out from that a bit, that means also more stress on the healthcare system, right? More people in hospital, which leads to longer wait times in the ER, even if you're there for a reason completely unrelated to flu. So the virus experts who are looking at this new H3N2 strain, they say that even though the virus might dodge your immune system's defenses enough to cause infection, there's still reason to suspect that the mutation might not make it a more severe illness from H3N2, which is good, but H3N2 tends to be worse than H1N1, unfortunately.
Do you think people's attitudes toward precautions around respiratory illness relaxed too much maybe since the pandemic?
Yeah, it's interesting to think about that, especially since the anti-vax noise is a lot louder now than it used to be. But I started looking this up, and I was happily surprised to find the evidence that shows that influenza vaccine coverage in Canada is about the same now as it was pre-COVID pandemic. So I'm going to look at that as a glass half full kind of thing. So even though we're not seeing as many people masking on airplanes and other enclosed spaces as we did during the pandemic, obviously, it's still way more than we used to see before the pandemic, right? And same with people deciding to stay home when they're sick. I think people are much more aware now that they shouldn't just go in and infect their entire office. So when they get sick, they say, you know what, I'm not feeling well, I'm going to work from home today. Or, they're feeling so unwell that not only are they going to go home, but they're not even going to work from home. They're just going to take a day off, take a sick day. And I also see more people carrying hand sanitizer, more people carrying masks, than before the pandemic. So I think there's generally more awareness that it's not just about the illness you get, but it's about the potential long-term or delayed consequences from those infections. So think of long COVID, or think of the increased risk of heart attack and stroke months after a flu infection, even if it wasn't so bad that you had to go to hospital. So, I think even though there's more noise out there with regards to misinformation or straight up incorrect information, I think most people realize the value in protecting themselves and their loved ones and their coworkers and, even strangers by getting vaccinated for things like the flu.
All right, Dr. Bardwaj, thank you.
My pleasure.
That is Dr. Raj Bardwaj. He joins us every Wednesday with his medical column. It is 9 minutes to 8 o'clock. The Premier is here after 8 to talk more about the throne speech. One of the things we want to look at next on the show, though, is the opening of the supervised drug consumption site in Winnipeg in January. You might have heard in the news this morning that Chuck Neufeld, who lost his son Sean to drug overdose in 2021, just 6 days after he was released from treatment, says he welcomes the province's plan. The last plan in Point Douglas was abandoned after public backlash to the location in the Disraeli Freeway. Premier Wab Kinew says this new site will be west of that location, but still in the downtown area. Chuck Neufeld spoke with CBC's Alana Cole.
Well, number one, we need a safe consumption site. And what that would entail would be making sure that the drugs these people are consuming are not tainted, okay? They're not giving themselves too much. And in case there is a problem, they can get help right then and there. Like someone will come and help that. And number two would be a detox center that's open that they can hold people for 72 hours. That they would get over the psychosis that the drugs are causing.
Okay. For you, why do you think a supervised consumption site is an important thing that's needed here?
I think it would give the people that are doing drugs, and I'm not a proponent of drug use, but I think it's important that these people that are taking drugs that are going to hopefully try to wean themselves off of it, they have a place that they can go, that they can trust the people that are in there to give them some advice and some help. This safe consumption site, hopefully they will do the testing on what these people want or trying to use, and they can say, no, you shouldn't be using that. That's got that in there.
Do you also think there needs to be better follow-up care once somebody is released, more options for follow-up care, more services and those types of things?
100%. We're sadly lacking in what we provide people as far as the drug culture, okay, type of thing, if you want to call it that. There's not enough counseling. There's not enough support for these people. There's not enough alternatives that these people can have. Like housing is a big thing, and it's always going to be a big thing until we solve this homeless problem, because it's a crowd mentality type of thing. Oh, we've got this here, try this or try that. And you know what? You don't want them to do that. You want them to be safe no matter where they are. There's not enough places for them to go. Yeah, they're moving all these people out of these encampments, but where are they going to go?
What would you tell people who might be worried about a supervised consumption site or critical of the idea?
Maybe these people should take a good hard look at the problems that's caused by the drugs and embrace the help that we're offering, that the government and the province is offering these people. And it's a step. It's a step in the right direction. And they've got to realize that you can't just flip the switch and things are going to change. There has to be some give and take. When that Ann Oak Recovery Center was built, or Bruce Oak Recovery Center was built, there was a big pushback on that. And it's a testament to some very good recoveries that these people have had. So those people have gotten to the point where they can go out. And I think I don't know the facts and figures, but it's been so good that they're not coming back and going back to the drugs. It's not in my neighborhood is not the type of thing that people should be worried about. You're seeing a reaction to a lot of things in the city because there is no place for these people to go. There is no help for these people. And that's totally the wrong attitude to have. Embrace the help and pitch in. Help these other people. Help, by volunteering or by donating or doing something that's going to lift these people up. Basically, you've got to take people at face value. You can't have a stereotype of somebody, oh, he's homeless, he's this, he's that, whatever. No, what is that person? Why is that? Why is this happening? Is it a drug-induced thing? Is it a mental thing? And, the mental aspect of it, people try to do an escape from their mental problems by doing drugs. And they've got to find another avenue that will take that away from them, that they don't need to do that they can go someplace and get the counseling or the mental health problems that they have solved.
Chuck Neufeld there, he is the coordinator as well of Backpacks from Heaven, but he was in the context of that conversation talking to CBC's Alana Cole as a father. His son died of drug overdose in 2021, 6 days after he was released from treatment. He welcomes what was in the throne speech yesterday about the supervised consumption site that we understand will open in January in Winnipeg, somewhere in the downtown area. We have Wab Kinew, the Premier of Manitoba, here for our interview, and of course a lot of questions about what was in the throne speech. We'll get some of his perspective live on CBC after 8 o'clock when the Premier joins us. So stay right here. It is 3 minutes to 8. Heather Wells joins us first. She's in our news center with headlines.
Good morning. Well, the Manitoba Nurses Union backs ending mandatory overtime for healthcare workers, but says the system still doesn't have enough nurses to make it happen. Yesterday's throne speech commits to beginning the process of ending mandatory overtime, starting with nurses. And the mayor of Carberry is relieved a highway overpass is going to be built near his town. The intersection of the Trans-Canada and Highway 5 is where 17 people died in 2023 after a bus and a semi collided. The province now saying building the overpass is expected to cost about $100 million. The mayor of Carberry says he's relieved. We're going to hear more from him coming up in our next local news at 8:30.
Thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
Sherbrooke and Cumberland, there's a car right now blocking the far left lane on Sherbrooke, so it's and the far right lane on Cumberland. So backups are building. Pam called the commuter line with that. Thank you. Also, St. Mary's and Abinogi-Mi'kmaq, stalled vehicle blocking the northbound middle lane there, so you have to use caution passing. And you should expect their northbound delays. 788-3093 with any updates. In the weather situation, it is mainly clear in Winnipeg. It's 2 degrees. We'll be around 5 today, and we are expected to cloud over. We actually have a 30% chance of some showers this afternoon. Well, still ahead, Premier Wab Kinew will be here for a monthly interview. We will have a lot of discussion about yesterday's speech from the throne and where Manitoba goes after also missing out twice on being on that federal projects list.
Govern stars in a new stage production about the life of the 1950s Hollywood icon Ava Gardner. Elizabeth will talk about why she was drawn to Ava's story, what Ava's story can tell us about celebrity culture now, and the 15 years Elizabeth spent on the hit show Downton Abbey.
Is it true that Irish gardens have more variety than ours?
Q with Tom Power this morning at 10:30 in Newfoundland, and on CBC Listen or wherever you get your podcasts. The CBC News is next. Coming up in half an hour, it's The Current with Matt Galloway.
Youth unemployment is high. The cost of living is skyrocketing. Buying a home can seem impossible. The Gen Z economist Kyla Scanlon gives a window into how her generation experiences the world of money and their hopes for their financial future on The Current.
This is World Report. Good morning. I'm Marcia Young. U.S. President Donald Trump is expected to sign a bill to release the Jeffrey Epstein files as early as today. The House of Representatives voted in favor of the document dump, and now, once again, it is all down to the U.S. president. But the survivors may still have to wait for the information to be made public. The CBC's Willie Lowry joins me now from Washington. And Willie, these survivors of the late sex offenders say this was a long time coming. What is next?
Potentially more government red tape. But if the previous few months showed just how dysfunctional and slow the U.S. government can be, last night revealed how effective and fast it can function when it wants to. After an overwhelming vote in favor of compelling the Justice Department to release its files on Jeffrey Epstein in the House, the Senate agreed to a motion deeming the bill passed on arrival.
Is there an objection? Without objection, so ordered.
The Senate has now passed the Epstein bill as soon as it comes over from the House.
That was Minority Leader Chuck Schumer. The Senate should receive the bill sometime this morning, meaning it should get to President Donald Trump's desk today. If he signs it, the Justice Department will have 30 days to release the documents.
There are still concerns that some of these files may never see the light of day. What can you tell us?
That's right. There is a caveat to all of this. The bill allows for the Justice Department to withhold information that pertains to ongoing investigations. President Trump has ordered Attorney General Pam Bondi to open investigations into Epstein's connections with several top Democrats, including former President Bill Clinton, former Treasury Secretary Larry Summers, and Reid Hoffman, the founder of LinkedIn. That move could give the Justice Department cause for not disclosing some of the documents. Here's Democrat Representative Robert Garcia.
Right now, he's putting this investigation together, and we're very concerned that he's going to use it as an excuse to not release the full files.
And several Epstein victims are also pleading with the president to release the documents in full.
Thank you, Willie.
My pleasure.
The CBC's Willie Lowry in Washington. Atna Ona is alleged to have ties to organized crime in Montreal. He faces charges related to murder as well as cocaine trafficking. And now Ona could be extradited to the United States. Sources tell Radio-Canada his case is linked to Ryan Wedding, the former Canadian Olympian, now on a list of the FBI's top 10 most wanted. Sarah Levitt has more.
Walking out of a Montreal courtroom, prosecutors had nothing to say, and inside, the documents were sealed, giving away few details. What we do know is that appearing via video conference was Atna Onha, a man allegedly tied to Montreal organized crime. According to Radio-Canada sources, the 40-year-old was arrested early Tuesday by the RCMP at the request of the FBI. He faces charges, the exact ones unknown, but prosecutors said in court it was related to cocaine trafficking and murder. And the U.S. has requested Onha, also known as Tupac, be extradited. This all in connection, according to Radio-Canada, with the case of Ryan Wedding, a former Canadian Olympian who is now on the FBI's top 10 most wanted. The FBI calling him an alleged drug kingpin and offering $10 million in reward for information that leads to his arrest. It's believed Wedding is in Mexico, but could possibly be in Canada. Today in Washington, a news conference with big names has been called, and Radio-Canada sources say it's related to Onha's arrest. U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi and FBI Director Kash Patel are among those expected to be in attendance. Sarah Levitt, CBC News, Montreal.
Prime Minister Mark Carney is on his way to Abu Dhabi this morning. He will be the first Canadian Prime Minister to visit the United Arab Emirates since 1983. Carney is trying to drum up investment from sovereign wealth funds to help diversify Canada's economy, and he's expected to meet with senior government and business leaders. Nunavut has a new premier. John Mayne has been elected as the 7th premier in the territory's history. As TJ Deer reports, Mayne is also making history as Nunavut's first ever non-Inuk leader.
Congratulations, Mr. Mayne.
It's a new era for Nunavut. The 7th premier of the territory will be John Mayne. He was chosen by his fellow MLAs in Nunavut's consensus system. In a short emotional speech entirely in Inuktitut, Mayne thanked his fellow MLAs who voted for him and said he would work very hard. The first Kalunat, or non-Inuk, to serve as premier, Mayne has been an MLA in the Nunavut legislature since 2017. He will now serve at the head of the territory's 7th government, and it's one that faces a lot of issues. A lack of housing, a suicide crisis, a high cost of living, just to name a few. Speaking with reporters afterwards, he touched on exactly that when asked what his priorities would be in the big seat.
There's no shortage of issues that need addressing in terms of which ones are going to
be at the top of the list. That's a group exercise that we will be going through.
Among Inuit leaders watching the forum was Paul Irngout. He's the vice president of Nunavut Tungavik Incorporated, the organization that manages the Inuit beneficiary list and the Nunavut land claim. Irngout says Maine knows those issues well, having grown up in Avviet.
Inuit have been left behind for so long that we want our priorities taken into full account with this government, especially with this premier, and we will push him on that front.
Also chosen on Tuesday were the 8 members of Maine's cabinet, as well as the Speaker of the House. They'll be sworn in on Thursday after a short sitting to confirm their positions. TJ Deer, CBC News, Iqaluit.
It has been a deadly and destructive night in Ukraine. Russian drones struck apartment buildings in Kharkiv. Ukrainian security services estimate there were more than 470 drones launched across the country. The drones hit an energy facility and industrial site in Lviv, and in the western city of Ternopil, a multi-story residential building was destroyed. Bulldozers and fire crews are now clearing the debris. Officials say 25 people, including 2 children, were killed in that attack. Israel is warning people in parts of southern Lebanon to leave now. Rescue workers rush into a Palestinian camp in Lebanon's coastal city of Sidon. Lebanese officials say an air attack late Tuesday killed at least 13 people. And Israel warns that more strikes are on the way. The Israeli military says it was targeting members of Hamas operating in a training compound, something Hamas denies. Israel has now issued a warning for 2 villages in southern Lebanon to evacuate. It says it is continuing to target Hezbollah and Hamas sites in the region, despite ceasefire agreements with both groups. Canada's public alerting system is scheduled to be tested across the country today. A test message and tone from Alert Ready will be broadcast on television, radio, and compatible wireless devices. Test alerts will be issued in every province and territory to help ensure the system works. It will happen sometime between late morning and early afternoon. For the first time since his family's killer was sentenced, an Ottawa man is speaking out. He is the sole survivor of the March 2024 homicide in his home. 6 people in his family were killed, including his wife and their 4 children. The CBC's David Fraser has his story.
Inside an Ottawa temple, incense burning, monks chanting, Danushka Wickramasinghe bowing his head in prayer. His Buddhist faith, the reason he says he's standing after losing his wife and 4 children in one of the city's deadliest homicides. Fabio de Souza pleaded guilty earlier this month to killing the family and another friend in March of 2024. He also attacked Wickramasinghe, stabbing him 6 times. He was sentenced to life without parole for 25 years.
I always wanted to justice and, and finally I got the justice.
Wickramasinghe had welcomed de Souza, a young man from Sri Lanka, to live in his suburban Ottawa home, supporting someone he shared a faith and home country with.
Came back me and destroyed my everything, my family, my life, my whole world.
Immigration struggles are adding to the trauma. Wickramasinghe's brother rushed to Canada after the killings, but he can't bring his own wife and daughter here. The family's immigration lawyer, Ronnalee Carey, says it could take a decade for the family to be united in Canada unless the federal government steps in.
So much was taken away from them. The very least that we can do as Canadians is allow them to stay and build a life here.
Wickramasinghe hoping to continue building his life in Ottawa.
I love Canada.
David Fraser, CBC News, Ottawa.
And that is the latest national and international news from World Report News Anytime, cbcnews.ca. I'm Marcia Young.
Good morning, Manitoba, and hello, Winnipeg. I'm R.C. Marcusa. This is Information Radio. We're live downtown in our CBC Studio 15, bringing you the show. I hope your Wednesday is going well. It might rain on us today a little bit. We're going to hear more about that from Chloe Friesen in a moment. This half hour on the show, the day after the throne speech, we have a lot to talk about with Premier Wab Kinew, and so we will dig into what was announced yesterday. There are a whole bunch of things on the table. One of the biggest things is healthcare, and the Premier says that an end is coming to mandatory overtime for nurses. How will he get that done? We are going to talk about that. We also are going to be talking more about grocery prices, which affects your bottom line and what you're having for breakfast this morning probably. So there is something that was in the throne speech about that. And I'll just leave that hanging there in case you missed all the details, because we'll go through them with Premier Wab Kinew, who is live in our CBC studio this half hour. Right now, though, let's get to more details and reaction to the throne speech with Heather Wells, who has our headlines.
Good morning. Yes, the province's plan to end mandated overtime for nurses in hospital emergency rooms is being met with skepticism. Sonia Udod at the University of Manitoba College of Nursing wonders who will care for patients if nurses aren't required to stay to fill vacant shifts. Udod says the main problem is retention. She says almost 60% of new nurses trained in this province leave the profession within 2 years. Well, after 8 months of protests, Thunderbird House is getting repaired. The copper on the roof of the Indigenous gathering place is coming off. Repairs are needed inside as well. That building on Main Street fell into disrepair after the COVID-19 pandemic. And a group of protesters have been occupying the space since March to persuade the board of directors to fix it, which is what they're doing now. We'll hear more coming up in our next local news at 8:30.
All right. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
Corey Funk has come in, and then we'll check the weather with Chloe after that. But Corey, you have a couple things in traffic that are happening.
Yes, St. Mary's at Abinogi-Meekina. There's a stalled vehicle blocking the northbound middle lane on St. Mary's, so just use some caution to get around that. As well, got a call from Pam on the commuter line. May still be an issue. Sherbrooke, of course, that's going northbound. Right at the corner of Cumberland there, the far left lane blocked by a car that seems to be having some tire issues. Also, the far right lane of eastbound Cumberland blocked as well. She says there was some backups building. That was about half an hour ago or so she called. May still be an issue there. If you see anything else, though, going on, you can give me a call. That number, 204-788-3093.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, let's get into the weather now, Chloe.
Hello. 2 degrees right now in the downtown. Mainly cloudy today. 30% chance of showers this afternoon. A high of +5. Tonight, mainly cloudy skies. 60% chance of rain showers or flurries in the evening. And after midnight, wind up to 15 kilometers an hour. A low of -1. Wind chill, -5 overnight. Tomorrow, sunny skies, high of +2, with the wind chill feeling more like -5 in the morning. And right now in Winnipeg, 2 degrees.
Well, Manitoba Premier Wab Kinew is back for our monthly interview with CBC Manitoba. But this, of course, is the day after his government laid out their commitments to Manitobans for their the next legislative session. There's a lot in this to go through, so we'll try to get to as much understanding of the key points as we can. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me back.
So let's talk about the 3 pieces of legislation that you're talking about introducing to improve patient safety and start there. So patient safety charter, ending mandatory overtime, starting with frontline nurses, and legislating staff-to-patient ratios. 3 of the big highlights. The nurses, the ending mandatory overtime is something that I want to start with, because as you just heard, there's some criticism that you'll be able to while the union welcomes it. You're saying that what's key to that being successful is needing to manage time better. So how have you come to the conclusion that this will be successful, ending the mandatory overtime?
For the first 2 years in government, we've added 3,500 frontline staff, and there's more than 1,200 new nurses there. We're spending more money on healthcare than ever before. So the resources are there. It's just about using it correctly. And the nurses, the healthcare aides, the physicians, they're all doing an amazing job. They're all frontline heroes. We just need to push the management, the people running our health authorities, to properly allocate the resources to where they're needed. So we didn't do this on day one because we knew we needed to add the staff first. But now that we're a couple years into that, we've seen the numbers increase in a very positive way. Now we're going to put those standards into place, and we're going to ask management to hit those targets. And again, this isn't about anything other than trying to make your care better because we want the nurse or the healthcare aide, healthcare professional working with you to be able to have good work-life balance, to be able to recharge. You know, the thing I always point to is none of us would get on a plane if the pilot had been forced to work back-to-back shifts. So why would we say that that's okay when we go to the emergency room, that a nurse had been forced to work back-to-back shifts?
How soon will these change? Will frontline nurses see these changes?
Well, we'll start rolling it out in the coming year. So we're in the legislature this fall, resuming after the holidays in the spring session. And so we'll be bringing these legislative changes forward.
If misallocation of staff is the issue here, if you're saying there's enough people now that we don't have to, you know, as you heard the concerns, even coming from the union, that, 60% of new nurses leave the profession within 2 years. And there's fear from the union while they see it as positive that we're going to have.
We've only been in power for 2 years.
Well, but
so you have to consider the
to
fact
have,
that we've changed the attitude towards recruitment and retention. We have a recruitment and retention office. So again, you're looking at backward statistics that point at the PC time in office.
Okay.
We're trying to send a message to the front lines. You want more help at the bedside to take care of these patients that you care for? Great. We're going to deliver them.
I guess,
you want more work-life balance? We're going to implement that into law.
I guess if even you have the union, though, saying that it is a positive idea, but that they're worried that things will be empty, that we're going to have healthcare facilities that don't have staff.
So. No.
So tell me why you don't think so, because they're saying we don't have the numbers yet.
No, we do have the numbers. Again, more than 1,200 new nurses. This is what everyone's been asking for a long time. So we got the numbers. That's not in question. And, you just look at a nurse, you look at a doctor, you look at a healthcare professional. They care about their patients. They're not going to let somebody fall through the cracks, right? The issue is the hospital administration. We've been giving them all the money. We've been giving them all the staffing resources. We've been giving them the direction. It's time for them to show results. So we love the front lines, but this is really about the management of our hospitals and regional health authorities. They have to start showing improvement.
How will you crack down then on what is you're alleging mismanagement, really misallocation of staff? If they're the solution, how will you set targets or timelines for how they have to achieve with existing staff what you're hoping to achieve?
Yeah, exactly. First and foremost, it's that patient safety charter. You go to the emergency room, God forbid, but you go to the emergency room to get help, to get well. And so we want to outline what you should expect there, first and foremost. And then in terms of you getting that safe, healthy care for you, you need good staff to deliver that. And that's where those other two pieces come in. One is ending the mandatory overtime so that nurse has not been run off their feet on 2 back-to-back shifts, or the healthcare aide or healthcare professionals. And the other is staff-to-patient ratios in priority aspects of the healthcare system. So when we can bring that into place, that's going to guarantee, in the emergency room, you're in the ICU, there's going to be enough staff there to take care of you instead of having people spread too thinly. So we did the first steps around educating, retaining, recruiting staff. We have many, many more people in the system now. And now we're sort of pressing forward on making sure that the administration deploy those people into the right areas. And again, rather than forcing frontline people, like how mandating overtime was being used, we're going to put the incentives, we're going to put that overall structure into place so that people would voluntarily step up, and we'll get the staffing outcomes that we want to see, and you'll get the health care that you need.
So we'll watch where those open spaces are, and by the numbers, if reallocation will work and such. Let's move to grocery prices. I know you're going to study reducing grocery prices. You've committed actually to reducing grocery bills this spring. What are some ways that a provincial government can affect change there?
Well, we'll roll those out in the spring budget, some specific details. We all see what's happening with the price of groceries. And so I think the first step is just to make sure that the steps that we're going to take in these budget measures are going to be the right ones that will actually make a difference for consumers. There are, like, a provincial government can't do everything, right? Like
you can consider removing the PST from grocery store bills. Is that where we're leaning? Is that where we're going?
You'll see the specific details on budget day.
Is that something you're considering?
Well, I think when we look at the gas tax cut, that put money in people's pockets. That stopped runaway inflation in Manitoba. So, my left-wing economics profs are not going to like this, the fact that I was their student 20 years ago or whatever, but the reality is you cut a consumer-facing tax, it helps people. And so, that's certainly one thing we'll look at. But
so I need to confirm this as a journalist. The PST is on the table?
Well, I think the first thing that we're announcing here is a study, because who are the large players? Do we have enough competition amongst those big chains?
Okay.
I was there 6:30 in the morning. A lot of excitement at the new Costco. People are serious about saving money. People are serious about competition in the grocery store. So that'll be one thing we look at. You got the independents, the local grocers. We want to see what's going on there. Are there things with our distribution system? We do a lot on the ag side too, freezing ag crown land lease rates for beef producers. We've seen what's happening with the price of beef. We're trying to do what we can at the provincial level to control the costs that are the inputs for the beef producers.
So there's a number of measures.
It's going to have to be a comprehensive approach. Yeah, it's a big challenge for
more
people.
details in the spring. I know you dodged the tax question here, so I won't ask it a third time. That's okay. You are pushing ahead with a supervised consumption site. We've heard some reaction in the news this morning. I want to look at another perspective.
Okay.
Many welcome this, but you also know that the first proposed site that you looked at, people weren't happy about that. You're moving it somewhere else in the downtown. People may only get days notice before it opens in the new year. What about someone who's worried the facility won't belong in their neighborhood?
Well, I think everyone knows where the facility is going to go. I mean, you drive up Main Street and you see a humanitarian crisis. It's just awful, the way folks are living out on the street. And you got the Salvation Army, you got Siloam Mission, you have Main Street Project. So it's pretty clear that that's where the need is. And so where do we locate a facility in that general area? But it's not going to be right across the street from a school or a childcare center. That's what we've been working on. But we've done a lot of outreach. We campaigned on this. This is a well-known thing that the addictions medicine doctors tell us is one of the tools. Again, it's not a silver bullet, but it's one of the tools that can help save lives. So we're investing in recovery. We gave all the media a tour of the Sobering Center earlier this week, so that's a part of the solution too. We have enforcement, we have prevention, we have other forms of harm reduction, and now this is one more tool that we can add to that comprehensive approach to just try and help people get well. And you know what? The idea of supervised consumption is one part of it, but part of it is also just getting people health care. If people are living a high-risk lifestyle where there's drug use, where there's needles and stuff like that, they need to see a doctor. They need to see a nurse practitioner. And so connecting them with those services as well as talking to them about recovery and treatment is part of the mission here.
In your view, if there are still people that are worried about having something like this in their neighborhood, and I'm not just pushing at the not in my backyard thing, but what my question to you is, what don't they understand about the impact then? If it's not going to be an issue, what would you say you would like?
I think people are smart. I don't know that it's that they don't understand. What I would just say is this doesn't happen in a vacuum, right? The alternative to having a supervised consumption is to have unsupervised consumption in the street. That's the alternative, because that's what we have now. I prefer to have, this behavior that's causing harm. I prefer that having that behind closed doors under the supervision of medical professionals instead of us all driving by it on our commute home from work.
8:23 a.m. Premier of Manitoba Wab Kinew is here a day after the throne speech. So we're going through multiple topics today. Yeah, lots of stuff.
Thank you, by the way.
Okay, let's talk about what you announced about opening a natural gas power plant. This would eventually be run on renewable methane. It's projected to cost $3 billion. Some might be wondering and trying to understand why not invest that money in another hydro dam?
Well, because a hydro dam will take 20 years is the short answer, and we need energy today. This is really about Trump-proofing our economy in a couple big ways. One, we are starting to see the impacts of the tariffs. And yeah, there are tariffs from China as well too. So this is a complicated international situation. So how do we as government counteract that impact of the tariffs? Well, one of the ways is let's get to building stuff. So a $3 billion construction project in the Brandon area, that's a lot of jobs. That's a lot of hard hats and steel toe boots. That's a lot of tradespeople going to work, building something that we actually need, which is power. And that comes to the second point of Trump-proofing our economy. During the coldest days in the winter to heat our homes, we routinely import power from the States. And given what's happened with that trade relationship for the long-term security of our province, we don't want to be dependent on heating our homes based on what's happening in America. So this helps us on two fronts. It helps us with the energy security, and I'd extend that to actually say sovereignty, just to be independent of the states, and then it helps us with the economy.
I know that you have said that you hope the facility will eventually be fueled with cleaner renewables. Why not now?
The hydrogen industry does not exist in Manitoba. So that's the first alternative fuel. And then the second is renewable methane, which there is an early stage proponent, I should say, in the Brandon area working on renewable methane. So that one might actually come online relatively soon. Like not overnight, but like in the next, 3 to 5 years type of thing.
How much are you still exploring wind power here?
Oh, we're building wind, like no question. Actually, in January, Manitoba Hydro will be announcing the first tranche of people they're going to work with on standing up new wind farms. And just as a reminder for folks, 600 megawatts of wind, that's about 4 times the capacity of wind we have in the province right now. So we're dramatically expanding wind power, but it's just to have that security, to have that economic boost, we got to do these combustion turbines as well too. And so it's about Trump-proofing the economy and making sure we got the energy we need to grow.
I want to play you a clip, actually. This is as we turn our attention to Churchill.
Yep.
Obviously, you and Prime Minister Carney met this past weekend. But we did hear from Suyik Au yesterday on CBC, Associate Producer of Finance with the U of M, University of Manitoba. Here's what he had to say about the Churchill project right now.
Okay.
We're competing against very large cities and very large projects, which have clear stakeholders that are pushing it. And Manitoba is kind of the middle child of Canada, where, we're not the biggest, we're not the most sophisticated, we're not the most athletic. We're the little middle child that gets ignored. And so we need to be able to step up and try and make ourselves a priority by having WAP Canoe and the MPs in our province speak as loudly as possible for the importance of actually pushing infrastructure like the port.
And pardon me, because I misspoke there, associate professor, not associate producer.
He lost me at the start when he was saying we weren't sophisticated, but then he got me back on at the end when he was being complimentary.
So,
not athletic. Hey, what did we do to him? Come on.
Let me ask you this. So you meet with Mark Carney this past weekend. I know there's a lot of talk about Churchill.
Yeah.
He reaffirmed the commitment to the port expansion, but the reality is we're not on the list. I mean, we had 2 lists now.
I don't know why everyone keeps saying that.
Well, the major projects list came out, and if you look down at what's on them,
well, look at the first one. We're on the list. They
Church.
announced 11 projects, and we're on the list. We've been working with the Major Projects Office for several weeks, actually.
Churchill's not on the list, but
No, it is. Churchill Plus is in the first list of projects announced.
Churchill Plus
Yes.
is compare that, Premier, for us to Churchill the Lines and enlighten us.
No,
then.
there's only
the
one
whole
Churchill
thing
project.
The whole thing is on the list then.
Go back to Prime Minister Carney's announcement of the first tranche of major projects in September. Churchill is part of that list. So we, since then, to explain this, we've been working with the Major Projects Office in Calgary to define the opportunity and to make sure that all the legwork is getting done. When the Prime Minister was here, we specifically announced a feasibility study on ice-breaking capacity. This is going to be kind of the crucial turning point, I think, in making this opportunity become real, take off to the next level. It's figuring out what kind of icebreaker do we need to expand the shipping season. Because if we can take the shipping season and grow it much longer, then all of a sudden the exporters are going to line up. And so this is a really important priority for us. We've been working with the Arctic Research Foundation on the icebreaking capacity. We've been working on the marine conservation area to ensure that we grow the shipping season and the increased tanker traffic while still looking out for the beluga and the polar bears. Maybe next time the Prime Minister comes, we'll put up a banner saying Churchill is on the list.
It's under the list
the
of
work
projects
is happening.
It's under the list. Everyone's saying it because it's on the list, Premier, of what's under consideration. That came out, the Churchill Plus in future. But we did all of the reporting at the beginning. I mean, if you look at the list, Manitoba's not on either of these lists officially.
It's in the first list. And we're, again, so what does the list mean? The list means that you work with the Major Projects Office, right?
The
We're
list
working
means that
with the Major
officially this is
Projects
happening
Office.
and going to be a priority. Our understanding, and if that's not your understanding, that's more critical. It doesn't matter what I think.
Yeah, we're working with the Major Projects Office, and we're building up Churchill. So again,
you consider
the media
us on the list in the same way as like the Red Chris Mine in BC and all
open
these.
Open as Instagram. What does his Instagram say this Monday or Sunday whenever he was here? It says, "I want the Port of Churchill built."
So the folks in Churchill who are listening, what's the next first phase of what will happen then out of the
it's the icebreaking capacity study that we're doing this winter. Again, For a long time, people have said you need like a multi-billion-dollar ship to open up the sea lane. But I think some of the more recent information we've been getting is it's probably not to that extent, because this is not multi-year ice we're talking about. You know, this is ice that opens up during the summer months, and so it seems like if there's a much more affordable icebreaker that we could get in northern Manitoba, that reality becomes a lot closer, and that's pretty exciting for the province.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me back.
Lots to analyze on our website this morning. Throne speech yesterday. Premier Wab Kinew live in our CBC studio. Your CBC Winnipeg News is next.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Heather Wells in Winnipeg. At 8:30, 2 degrees right now. We're aiming for 5, still mild for mid-November. The Manitoba Nurses Union backs ending mandatory overtime for healthcare workers, but says the system still doesn't have enough nurses to make that happen. Yesterday's speech from the throne commits to beginning the process of ending mandatory overtime, starting with nurses. Premier Wab Kinew argues the healthcare system has enough nurses to support a change in legislation. Earlier this year, the province announced it had hired 481 nurses in the previous 10 months. Union President Darlene Jackson says her members still aren't noticing a difference at work.
I would love nothing better than to see an end to mandating, but I don't think we're in a position now where we can legislate an end to mandating and still have a functioning healthcare system. I think there's other things that need to be dealt with, and one of them being culture. Once we have recruited enough nurses and we can retain them, then mandatory overtime for sure.
The province has also pledged to legislate staff-to-patient ratios in priority areas, and Jackson worries what that might mean for departments that are not prioritized. The mayor of Carberry says an overpass near his community is going to make the area safer for drivers. In yesterday's throne speech, the province commits to building an overpass at the intersection of the Trans-Canada and Highway 5. That is where 17 people, most of them seniors, died after a bus and semi collided in June of 2023. Carberry's mayor is Ray Muirhead.
If we get this because of that accident, it'll be in their memory, and good things come from it. A positive thing comes from it. I mean, it'll save a lot of lives down the road, I'm sure.
The province had originally planned to build a restricted crossing U-turn or an R-cut at that intersection, but after area opposition, the province scrapped the idea. Premier Kinew says the overpass will cost more than $100 million. Design work will begin next year. The province says it's planning to open a supervised consumption site in Winnipeg in January. That also was part of the throne speech yesterday. Chuck Neufeld supports a place to test drugs and make sure people get medical help. His son died from an overdose in 2021, just days after being released from a treatment center.
I think it's important that these people that are taking drugs that are going to hopefully try to wean themselves off of it, they have a place that they can go, that they can trust the people that are in there to give them some advice and some help.
It's still not clear where this site will be located. Manitoba initially wanted to open one at 200 Disraeli. The Premier says the new location is west of that site, close to organizations already providing services. Nurses in northern Manitoba vote today on whether to grey-list another hospital in this province. The Manitoba Nurses Union is asking members to vote on whether to grey-list Thompson Hospital. Grey-listing is when a union advises current and prospective members not to seek employment at a particular facility because of ongoing safety issues. This past August, MNU members voted to grey-list Winnipeg's Health Sciences Centre. Nurses in the north will vote electronically from today through Friday. After 8 months of protests, Thunderbird House is getting repairs. The copper on the roof of that Indigenous gathering place in Winnipeg is coming off. Repairs are needed inside as well. A group of protesters have been occupying the Main Street space since March to persuade the board of directors to fix it. Well, this week it was announced the roof is getting repairs. Welcome news to protest organizer Megan Salwan.
I'm excited. I can't wait for it to be done. I feel like us being here, like community actually like using this space, got them to be like, hey, there's people who actually love this place, let's get it done. Like, I think if we just left it alone and things were still happening before, I don't think anything would have happened.
The board of directors says the first priority is getting the roof fixed. Wheelchairs weighing more than 300 pounds are barred from most WestJet flights. Former Manitoba MP Stephen Fletcher is speaking out against the policy after learning his power chair is too heavy despite flying with the airline for years. Mayan Ziv, founder of Access Now, thinks this rule is discriminatory.
Recently in Canada, we've created a lot of awareness about the barriers that passengers with disabilities face in air travel, and this doesn't demonstrate meaningful engagement with the community to solve the real problem.
And Ziv is not aware of any other airlines with similar rules. WestJet says accessibility regulations allow it to refuse transport of heavier mobility aids. And the Alert Ready system is being tested across Canada today. Test messages are going to be broadcast on TV, radio, and compatible wireless devices. In Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Alberta, those tests will happen at 1:55 this afternoon, local time. You can find more news updated throughout the day. All you have to do is head to cbc.ca/Manitoba.
All right, thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
Chloe Friesen has a last look at our forecast today.
2 degrees at the moment. We are looking at a high of +5 today with a 30% of chance of showers in the afternoon.
All right, thanks, Chloe. And Corey Funk has popped in for anything to say about the commute?
Yes, Sherbrooke and Cumberland, multi-vehicle collision, partially blocking that left curb lane on Sherbrooke, and eastbound curb lane on Cumberland as well. So that's causing some delays for folks this morning. And that issue on St. Mary's and Abinogi-Mika has now been cleared.
Okay, great. Thank you for the update.
Thank you.
Big thanks to Chloe Friesen and Corey Funk and Darren Marash and Heather Wells and Megan Ketcherton and Joni Nicolo, our early crew in our news department and here in Studio 15. Also, thanks to the associate producers who worked on today's program, Sierra Sanders and Jenna Bedosso. Great work, you two. And Jim Agapito, who's a reporter in our unit. Thank you, Jim, as well. Thanks to our producer, Nellie Gonzalez, produces the shows here, and the senior producer of audio here at CBC Manitoba, Leif Larson. I'm Marcy Marcusa. Take care. Be well. The Current is next.